All right, hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Tripp Smokepit. Today, again, I think for the fifth time, we got Damien Larkin on, author of Big Red and Blood Red Sand. Also, before we go any further in the show, we I think have talked since this book came out, but we put this one off a little bit so that we can talk about it with spoilers. So if you wanted to have Reddits, you had time.
Exactly.
You get mad about anything we say about spoiling it for you. Well, you know, you've been warned and you had the time to fucking do it. So it's
exactly. So fault lies with you.
Yeah, your own damn fault. But before we went live, we were talking about fucking the fucking clusterfuck that's going on in Kabul right now. But one of the things, because Damien brought up Saigon and all the fucking Vietnam parallels, one of the things I did want to fucking bring up is, you know, that picture of the helicopter. There's two. There's one in Saigon, one in Kabul. And it's that helicopter landing on the fucking embassy and, you know, taking off. Now, in both of those photos, it's the same model helicopter. However, that helicopter that was in the picture in Saigon, it wasn't the exact same one that was in Kabul, but that helicopter was in Kabul. Same tail number. It used to be Marines. They sold it to the Department of the State. And now it's playing State Department shit. So it's like it's not even that history's repeating. It's straight to be recycled.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's got to be fucking bad luck or something, like, you know. But yeah, I mean, like, the images itself were chilling, because, like I was mentioning to you, I was watching the Ken Burns documentary, and I've watched like 3 or 4 times now on Vietnam, and it's just one of those things, my go-to thing I watch every couple of months. But just seeing the chaos that was happening in Saigon at the time, and then kind of watching, you know, in real time, all the stuff going on in Kabul, it's absolute madness, you know. It's shocked everybody, you know, throughout the world. So it's I mean, it's not only just kind of America, but like kind of Europe and Britain, obviously stunned at how quick the Afghanistani army kind of collapsed, you know. So it's shocking.
Yeah, and like that, like it's one of those things too, where it's like fucking, like, everyone who's been there knew that this was gonna happen, but it's just like shitty to fucking look at. It's kind of like fucking if you're dating this chick and you really like her and you know she's fucking around, but you psych yourself out to, you know, think that she's not fucking around, and then you walk in on her and you're like, god damn it, now I have to fucking look at it. But the thing about that, with the Brits, is I did want to bring it up because, you know, in Blood Red Sand, you know, Dublin's Irish, right? It goes otherwise, in Blood Red Sand, it's McCabe, and McCabe's an Englishman, and it's you're Irish, I'm American, we have our own fucking histories with but I do want to acknowledge that they are fucking badasses when they fucking need to be, because fucking what's going on in Kabul right now is England's fucking like 2nd paratroop fucking battalion, you know, bunch of paratroopers. They're going house to house and street to street, fucking like pulling out fucking people to fucking evacuate them, right?
Yeah, I've heard. They're really going all out.
And fucking while we're just sitting at the fucking airport with our thumb up our fucking ass, the commander of our 82nd Airborne fucking got in a screaming match with the commander of 2 Para, telling him to stop doing that because it's making America look bad. And
why don't you say that?
Fuck you, we're gonna take care of ourselves. Like, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this shit, but like fucking Parliament right now is fucking furious at fucking us. They were talking about like putting I don't know what the fuck this actually means practically, but they were talking about trying to put some type of fucking sanction on us because we fucked up Afghans so bad.
I think that's a bluster, you know.
Well, they're out there fucking kicking ass and taking names.
Look, I think they're kind of venting their spleen a little bit on that one, because the one thing that they continually go on and on about is the special relationship between the UK and the USA, you know. So it's the cornerstone of all major foreign policy, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, foreign interventions, and it has been since the Brits kind of went in with the American forces originally during the original invasion. So it's not going to happen, especially post Brexit, where, you know, UK are effectively cut off from the EU in a lot of ways. They're desperately seeking to promote and grow what they call global Britain and stuff like that. So they're not going to fuck around with America, you know. I think they're just going to shit on about it, but that's about
it. It might just be rhetoric, but it's still fucking crazy to see. You know?
It's because it's never really happened before to that level. Like, we've seen the protests that they've had, like the anti-war kind of protesters and stuff.
And we had that too.
You know, and I suppose you get it everywhere, you know. But it's very unusual for them to kind of talk about it in their kind of House of Parliament. But again, I think it's because they kind of have to say something about it. They obviously want to attack the Conservative kind of government and try and put them under kind of pressure, you know. Boris Johnson, he's not essentially popular amongst the vast majority of the population. Now, I mean, he's he's won kind of 2 elections, so I mean he's doing something right on one side of things. But I think generally there's kind of like the feeling that people are kind of fed up with everything that's going on. So this is just another kind of nail in the coffin, you know.
Yeah, although I'm not really sure how their stuff works. Like they don't elect their prime minister, right? Like the parliament does, not the people, right?
I think so if whoever's got the highest level of seats, as long as you can kind of form a working government or a coalition, then essentially whoever's the leader of the biggest party. Normally, like up until I suppose the last, I think 10, 15 years, they've been pretty much like a 2-party system, split between like the Conservatives and Labour. And then I think in the last decade anyway, they had the Liberal Democrats went into coalition with the Conservatives. So it's kind of in its own way, it's kind of similar to a 2-party system, but it's always, I think, going to be split between either the Labour or Conservative to some degree or another, you know.
Yeah, and then that's a weird thing for Americans too, because like we don't ever have our Congress like building a government. They just are the fucking government.
Yeah.
And then like we only have a 2-party system, and like we call them the left and the right, but if you look at them, they're both actually we have a right and then like a little bit less right, but they're still over here. Like we don't have anything like the fucking Labor Party over here, and like I don't know enough about them to say that's a good thing or a bad thing, but.
Yeah,
But we don't have any variety. At least they have variety, you know.
Yeah, true. Look, and you can mix it up. I mean, it's the same over here in Ireland. We've got like multiple kind of political parties, but since the foundation of the state, we've only ever been ruled by one or a lot of 2 parties, and both of them are right wing. So, for like the last 100 years, we've had some degree of kind of conservative right wing kind of government in place. You know, now in all fairness, they have like enacted a lot of what you call kind of very liberal kind of legislation. You know, but I mean, our entire politics, it's not really split between conservative and kind of like Labour, you know, or however, republicanism or whatever, you know. It's based on the our civil war. So it's one of the parties is the side that was pro-treaty, which is pro-negotiating with the UK to get to 26 counties, and the other one was anti-treaty, you know, and it just changes every couple of years, you know.
Is that why there's a Ireland and a North Ireland?
Yeah, it's because of the treaty negotiations with with Churchill back in the day, you know, which kind of essentially ended the War of Independence and gave semi kind of independence to the 26 counties and left the 6 counties as part of the UK, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna be a fucking heavy episode.
Yeah, exactly. And we're only on whiskey number 1 as well.
I'm on tier number 2, but yeah, no, I want to read this. This is a comment from Ryan. I don't really know how to handle my feelings on the whole Afghan. So I'm gonna read that we left the Terps behind to fend for themselves, but it's also, but I also feel broken because the government had our hands tied the whole time we were there, and we couldn't do our jobs for 20 years. Yeah, no, that's
makes sense.
That's an absolute thing. Fucking, I personally still don't know what to think of it. I'm still trying to find a good way to word it. I do know that I feel fucking, you know, rage and fucking anger and like general like what the fuck. But I mean,
yeah, and look, I mean,
wanted me to say eloquently. I can't do that yet.
And look, I mean, you have to kind of process your feelings. I think it would be more unusual if you didn't have a feeling around it, you know, especially considering kind of the service that you and your colleagues have committed to over there. It's got to be a heartbreaking situation, you know, or at least invoke some sort of serious kind of emotional reaction, you know, when you sit and you look back and think of everything that you and your comrades have done. I mean, for all the goals that were given to do them, and then to kind of watch essentially the bad guys walk back in, you know, just like that, and you know, and the Afghani army collapsing, it's, you know, it's got to be horrifying.
Yeah, well, I mean, the 2 things with that though is like fucking like I don't know, fucking like, again, America's weird with this shit. Like objective change under every different fucking administration. So like I deployed once under Bush, and it was a completely fucking different war than when I went back a year later under Obama. Like, and like fucking. There was always this secondary thing of like, you know, hey, you know, get the hearts and minds, you know, and then also we're going to do some nation building shit, which is why a lot of people are pissed the fuck off at Joe Biden right now. Cause like, we weren't over there to nation building. It's like, motherfucker, yeah, the fuck we were. What the fuck was I doing? But like, step A was always, you know, fucking kill Taliban, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that was it from day one. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing though, too, like one of the reasons that like nobody was like really surprised that the Taliban fucking took back is because like there is the Taliban, like it's a bunch of fucking different fucking groups, but it's more like a fucking like a student of Islam fucking thing. It's more of like extreme fucking version of fucking Islam. However, the rest of the country that aren't that extreme are like a step or two down. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with like the Protestant denominations, but it'd be like if the fucking Baptists took over, but everyone else is already a Methodist. So it was like, all right, effectively the same fucking thing. Like, the only real difference between the Taliban and the rest of Afghanistan is most of the rest of Afghanistan doesn't want to like cut a fucking little girl's face off for trying to learn how to read. But like they'll still want to, they just won't,
It's crazy. So they're pure kind of extremists, and look, I'd say it'll take a very long time for kind of like the people like yourself who've kind of served, and I think the country as a whole and even the wider world to kind of wrap their head around this. It's not a story that's going to go away and kind of be forgotten. Like, they'll be looking at this for decades, trying to understand, what happened and what went wrong, essentially. So it's crazy time.
Real quick, Ryan in the comments, your books really helped being on the other dude. I'm glad they can, man. Fucking
hell yeah.
Again, I want words for that.
And look, like anything, it'll take time, but I suppose the main thing is you're doing something constructive with it. I mean, I've seen you all week. You've been just churning out this artwork and stuff, and it's crazy, like the pace you're kind of moving on. So it's and fair play to you. It does look like a really good way to kind of express how you're feeling about it. So
thank you. Something about the art though. Fucking what is it? Yesterday, the day before, that purple one that I came out with. I originally made that canvas purple because I wanted to stop fucking doing the dreary doom and gloom shit. Fucking, I was gonna draw some like big hipped, fucking fat tittied fucking chick on there. They're like, all right, let's be happy for a bit. Look at some boobs, and then fucking what 13 fucking Americans, fucking 10 or 11 of them,
Jesus,
swiped out, and then Biden gets on TV and pretty much just says tough shit. So it was like, all right, let's go back to this, but. What the kicker was on his headband, fucking it's written, "Where's Lee Harvey Oswald when you need him?"
I saw that. I saw that.
What's worse is also yesterday, Sirhan got put on parole, and he's the guy that fucking
Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah. So it was like God was looking down, and he's like, "Okay, listen, I'm not going to make this happen, but I see you and I hear you,
right?
And here's my acknowledgement that I'm listening."
Jesus, man. But hey, look, art's art. No, that's fucking that's crazy, But actually, something I kind of want to dive into, because I know you only sent me a couple of days ago, but you showed me like the book covers. So I think this is like a really good time to kick off with the Smokepit recap. So every single conversation we've been on, we've kind of had like maybe 2 or 3 minutes just to kind of dive a little bit into where we're at with the project. Obviously no spoilers at all. For anyone who's kind of read the books, we all know how it ends. We're not going to go into it, but there's reference to a certain character, and in other shows you've also kind of mentioned that we're going to be exploring this a little bit. So can you, without giving us any spoilers, can you give us a bit more insight into it, or where we're at with the books when they're coming out?
So where we're at with the books is they don't have the art in them yet. I've only done the art for the 7th one and a little bit of the 8th, but I have the hard print copies of them, and I'm going to send 7, 8, 9 to you. Because I need a quote for the back.
Hell yeah, man.
And to Michelle over at Aesop Stories, and then
Michelle
to Heather Carson, who is my red pen person. So so like the copy you and Michelle are gonna get. Well, you're all getting the same shit, but like coming to you and Michelle, it's gonna be the story, and it's hammered out to where the story is, but like you're gonna read a lot of misspellings and shit.
Look, happens.
And then fucking Heather is gonna be there reading it with a red pen and a highlighter, going, "Hey, that's wrong there. I think you meant definitely, not defiantly." What's that doesn't fucking make sense. Fucking so. But
you need someone
like that. Get is like 99% of fucking the thing, and then I figure by time I get those back from Heather, I'll have the art done, and then
cool.
I know what I want to do for the music. I already got it fucking like in my head for whatever, but I will have the sheet music in the back of those, but I'm gonna wait until after the books are out to release the actual soundtrack, just so it's like hey, here, you got this, you got this, you got this, and then like afterwards, like you can go back and fucking listen to it. That way, people will be like, oh, I remember that. Let me go check that out. Which also fucking like, not to toot my own horn, but can you name me another author who wrote the book themselves and then did the art and then put a fucking soundtrack in it? Fucking at me. You know?
No, it's really impressive. It really was, and I think it kind of adds that additional layer as well. You know, because there is kind of like music throughout the book. Like, you know, I can only remember kind of touching on it a few times, like, but I'm sure Hank did as well. But there is kind of bits where like it works with very well as an accompaniment to actually have that music there ready to go, you know. So it does. It's very well done, you know.
Yeah, like fucking what's his name? Goddamn Tolkien. Fucking like he had music in his books, but he didn't like transpose it in the back. Like, come at me, Tolkien. I saw this fucking video, and it was you know, some dude dressed up like Tolkien. He's like, oh yeah, so I wrote my books off of the you know, the horrors I saw at the Somme, and then it was C.K. Lewis is like, I also wrote my books off the horrors that I wrote off the Somme, and then like Hitler pops up and he goes, do you know who else is at the Somme? And they just start kicking his ass. Like, no one gives a shit.
Brilliant. That's deadly. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. And
speaking of fucking Nazis, who may or may not have started a Fourth Reich on the moon.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Big Red and Blood Red Sandwich. And like and it's weird because it's technically a prequel, because in Big Red, fucking what was Dublin's real name?
Darren Lachlan.
Yeah, Lachlan. It's kind of down on his luck. Fucking some dude shows up, says, "Hey man, you want to go fucking serve your country? You'll only be gone for 3 days, technically. But we're gonna do this fucking like surrogate Matrix fucking Terminator thing, and, like in your brain to a fucking like
end of it all,
kind of like a clone thing on Mars to go fight the fucking like locals / space Nazis." And then in the second one, it's fucking McCabe, and I fucking I thumbed through it, fucking doing some shit, but like you know, read it about a year ago, beginning of this year. But he was you know, British Army, and you know, he shows up to go fucking like fight these fuckers, and then at some point he meets fucking Dublin. So it's a prequel, but at the same time it's a sequel, depending on what chapter you're in.
I'm kind of calling it like a pre-sequel. So that's the term was coined there by one of my colleagues, P.S. Livingston. But yeah, I think that, I mean, you can look at it either way. I mean, chronologically, it can be considered a prequel. But I mean, if you've read kind of Big Red, it's set roughly about 3 days after the final chapter of that, from the, you know, from certain characters' perspectives, you know?
Yeah,
so
and
again,
because like you don't have to have read Big Red first. Like, it would benefit you to read Big Red first, but you don't have to get the story about what's going on.
Exactly, you know? So, and a few people have actually done it that way, you know? They've read Blood Red Sand first, and then kind of moved on to Big Red. So, I mean, it can be read either way. I always kind of suggest, look, read it chronologically, or based on when it comes out, as it's published, you know. But yeah, however they want to do it, and I deliberately did it like that as well. Like, you know, wanted to give myself like a little bit of leeway and flexibility. And to be honest, I think the reason I had some of the characters in Big Red in it was I just wasn't sure where, or if I'd ever, you know, get the opportunity to kind of do a direct sequel to Big Red, you know, because Blood Red Sand started off as like a short story.
Yeah.
And my publisher reached out and said, look, how about like a freebie short story just to drum up a bit of kind of publicity and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. Like, I've been thinking about this stuff for years. So I'll set it like in the war that's referenced in Big Red, but, you know, never really dive into. And sent over like 11 or 12,000 words. And she just came back to me. Was like, turn this into a novel. Turn it into a novel right now. Where's the novel? Why aren't you writing the novel?
Now why are you spending time with your family and sleeping and eating when you can be writing this shit, motherfucker?
I was like, okay, yeah, you want a novel? That's no problem. I'm happy to do that, you know. So yeah, that's where I kind of went from there, you know. But yeah, no, it was a great opportunity, and obviously I loved kind of doing it. I wanted to get a bit kind of, I think, grittier with it and kind of like go a little bit darker in a way that kind of Big Red wasn't, you know. And I think I've said it to you before, it was kind of partially influenced by Smokepit kind of Fairy Tales 1, because I have said to you before, like one of my kind of favorite scenes in that is the battle in the graveyard, and I distinctly kind of remember reading that at the time, and I'm just like, oh my fucking god, this is a battle scene and a half, like it's just insane. And I kind of, it was one of those things that stayed with me, and I wanted to do my own kind of versions of that, you know, which which I have in kind of Blood Red Sand, so you can direct influence there on some of those battle scenes there. So yeah, I just love that bit. Yeah, it was so fucking insane.
Well, I mean, like what is it? Was it fucking? I forget what the exact quote is, but fucking like I think it's something like bad artists copy, good artists steal.
Yeah. No, but I mean that's what it's all about, you know. You borrow from what you enjoy reading and like what you enjoy, you know, and you put your own unique spin in it, you know. So and that's pretty much what I've done for all of my books, you know, rather than kind of do like from an American point of view, I look at it from the Irish point of view or the British kind of point of view or something like that, because you don't see enough of that. So that's, you know, that's all it is, just putting your own kind of unique spin in it. But yeah, I mean, I take influences where I get them, and if I like something, I like something, and I love kind of fucking Smokepit. So yeah, I had to do my own spin in it a bit, you know.
Yeah, no, and I love that you included, like, in Big Red, there was this guy, I forget what he was. I think he was a captain, but he was like pretty much like a Vietnam era Huey pilot. And, and he's a fucking great character because everybody else like fucking like, oh my god, this is going on. I was like, what year do you think it is? And I'm like 2018. He's like, son, it is 1976. And then like he's this grizzled old fucking helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
And then in Blood Red Sand, you see him fucking however before later, and he's like a fucking like airman first class or some shit.
Yeah. I mean, it was pure kind of fluke because like as I was thinking out the story, I needed to have like a downed kind of pilot, and I was just kind of sitting there, right? How am I? Because I need to get the British forces into the city centre. I need them to kind of recon around where the kind of main rallying points are for the Nazis, you know. So I need a pilot to crash there. But who could it be? Like, how could I kind of put it in that it's kind of natural, and just out of nowhere, it was like Lockhart. I have to give him his fucking origin story, you know. Yeah, it has to be him. I have to kind of explore it a little bit. So it was great to kind of give him that background because he is one of the more popular kind of secondary characters in Big Red. You know, people just think he's a buzzer. He's an absolute alcoholic. He's a stoner, just completely off his rocker completely. But he's one of the best natural pilots there, you know. Yeah. So yeah,
and it's like I know you didn't write this into it, but like fucking every time I fucking like would see his name, I would just hear that like distant fucking like drum intro to Fortunate Son. That
yeah, he's just that stereotypical kind of like not a gung-ho kind of badass, but like just someone who's just shit-faced drunk the whole time, but really exceptionally talented and good and just unfazed by anything as long as he's hammered, I think.
Yeah, no, and that's another thing too, because like there's also a big difference between Dublin and McCabe, because like Dublin was kind of like, all right, well, do what I gotta do to feed my family, and then like he like leans in hard when shit hits the fan. As where McCabe, to me, it just seems like, all right, we just got done fighting the Nazis. Let's go finish the fucking job, boys.
Yeah, exactly. Just two different personality types, you know. I think like the Dub that you kind of see in Blood Red Sand, he's a bit more kind of battle hardened, a bit more kind of like less fun. Like in the first book, he was real kind of like it was kind of quirky. He had a quirky kind of outlook, but I mean, you look at how kind of Big Red ends and all the drama surrounding it kind of thing. He's kind of hardened as a character a little bit. Now he still retains his kind of personality and qualities, but like when they're on their missions there, it's obviously not explored what they're doing behind the scenes. You can get a couple of hints at what they're up to, but it's for a much bigger kind of scenario, which we're going to find out in the direct sequel to Big Red. So yeah, called Born Red. No release date, no kind of like confirmation as to when it'll be ready, but I've finally worked out the story. It's taken me 3 drafts. I had to scrap. I think the last draft was at 66,000 words, so literally only another 20,000 to go ish, give or take. And I just couldn't make it work, and I had to put it aside. And I think it was just burnt out at the time. But I finally figured out the bits that were annoying me. So now it's just a matter of finishing my current project and getting it poured out. In a perfect world, I'll have the first draft done by Christmas. In a perfect world.
Well, if that's after your current project, what's your current project?
Yeah, it's unrelated. I got this mad idea like one day, and like yourself, you might be walking along and just randomly think of something or whatever. But it was like doing like a combination of like Jurassic Park and Game of Thrones. So we fucking dinosaurs with like fucking in like a medieval style world, so like a lost continent, and this mercenary company are trying to steal some Tyrannosaurus Rex eggs to utilize as weapons on the battlefield and stuff, you know. So it's
now,
it's
is there Velociraptor cavalry?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're all in the wild, but I mean, that's what they want to utilize them for. But it's like, it's that human kind of thing. They're all like, look, we're battle hardened. Like 1,000 of us, we go in there. We know our shit. We'll just go in and take it. But from day one, things go wrong. They start coming under attacks and kind of get separated and stuff like that. So yeah, it's different from what I normally kind of write, but I just said, fucking, I'm just going to go with it. Like, you know,
fucking
see what happens.
I'm in on it. Although fucking thought fucking experiment here. What would be scarier?
Yeah.
T-Rex cavalry. So you got a T-Rex with a dude on the back shooting a fucking gun at you with a bayonet, or velociraptors that they trained like attack dogs, like go.
Oh yeah, I'd say like them. Yeah. And there's like, I can't really give too much away because I'm still kind of tweaking it a little bit, but you see kind of velociraptors, they call them slashers in this, where they're behaving like, they're not really behaving like themselves. It's almost like they're acting on command, and they're like, how the fuck did they learn to do all this shit, and why are they working in such high numbers? So it kind of ties into a couple of kind of plot arcs and stuff like that. But yeah.
It ties into some other things, but there's this old fucking like meme cartoon fucking whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah,
it was these archaeologists, and they're digging up a T-Rex. And when they get to his arm, like he's got a fucking swastika armband, and they're like, "Oh, we can't tell anybody about this." And they get a little bit further down, and in his hand, he's got a rosary, and they're like, "We can't tell anybody about this."
That's brilliant. Yeah, yeah, something like that. So yeah, look, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, you know, I'm not going to put myself under any pressure. Just want to get this one done, and then we'll kind of see what happens next with it. You know, so
yeah, dude,
yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Write that shit out, fucking like that's the best and the worst thing about it. Like, it's like, dude, fucking, I'm just gonna like vomit my fucking brains out onto the paper or word processor or whatever the fuck it is. I'm gonna have a great time. Then you go in to reread it again. You're like, God, I suck. Okay, so this is gonna go, but like, I'm gonna take some notes on this and do it again better here in a minute.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the process, you know. Like, I always look at the first kind of draft as like a big pile of dog shit. Like, you know, it's literally just,
well, you have to take a shit to polish your turd.
Yeah, exactly. You know, exactly. You know, just let it literally just pour out. I won't do any edits. I won't kind of go back and read anything I've done. You know, I just literally just write until that first draft is done, knowing it's going to be terrible, and then just go back and you have to just chip at it until you get to that diamond. You know, layer after layer type of thing. You know,
what was it? Fucking. It was either Michelangelo or Da Vinci or one of those guys, and they referenced it in one of the Rambo movies. But you know, he said it in real life, where fucking somebody's like, "You made this awesome fucking statue." He's like, "That statue is always there. I just got away all the rubble on the side."
Oh yeah. It was like he spent 2 years looking at a big giant rock, and this was his entire job. I think he used to come in like, you know, first thing in the morning, and he'd sit there just looking at this rock, and he'd be kind of like, he'd have his lunch there, and you know, kind of eat his food, and he'd just be staring. And like after 2 years, someone's like, you know, "Are you okay, pal? Like, you're just like staring at this rock and stuff, you know?" And he was like, "Oh, don't worry. I have the sussed, you know, statue's right there." And then like one day he just got up and just started working away at it, and just out of nowhere had this like mad kind of work of art, you know?
Yeah, dude, I wish I could do that shit. Actually,
I know.
Instead of I wish I can do that, I hope in 400 years I'm known enough to where people make lies like that about me.
You went out into the desert for 60 days without food.
You put that on a napkin, and then
yeah. And created the Smokepit fairy tale series.
Yeah, so actually, little known fact, this author 200 years ago, Damien Larkin, he didn't actually write Big Red. He was a archaeologist, and he was fucking digging up some dig site in Babylon, and it turned out that he pulled these stones out, and on it was that. And then he kind of stole the idea because that shit happened, and he just like, you know, lied about it so it was believable. But you know, it's like a work of fiction, wink, wink, nudge.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that as a legacy 200 years from now. Yeah, come on now.
I mean, because like, hey, fuck it, I'll be dead. I don't really care.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, Ben, go for it, dude. Like, that's one of the things with do you know who Doc Holliday was?
Old
American West cowboy type guy. But he had this reputation for like being like, you know, the biggest, baddest fucking gunslinger fucking ever. He'd walk around and people just like move out of the way because he'd fucking killed like 50 fucking men or whatever.
Right.
In reality, fucking he's only accredited to killing 2 dudes, and one of them was like in self-defense in the middle of a fucking bar fight that he was losing, and he had to kill. He had to get out.
Yeah.
But he didn't correct anybody when they fucking said, "Hey, did you do this?" He's like, "Maybe I did, maybe I didn't." And like walked on.
Yeah.
And people just like thought he did the shit, and the legend built around it.
It's like your man in Band of Brothers, Lieutenant Spears or something like that.
Oh no! I did the research on that dude. That dude actually did all that shit.
Oh, did he actually do it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, no way. Well, I mean, he came across as a bit of a psychopath, so I shouldn't really be shocked.
Like one of the things with that though is like the thing where he killed all those fucking like German prisoners. It was like they were in a situation where it was like, do we get rid of these guys or do we let them go because we have to move and we can't facilitate holding these guys here?
Yeah.
And like when a war is like that big and you got that much shit going on, it's like on one hand, it's like, yeah, dude, is shooting him wrong? Yeah, probably. But I mean, if we let them go, they're going to fight us again. But also they're Nazis, so fuck them.
Yeah, it's kind of okay.
Hard up in the fucking argument for some reason, but
yeah,
I don't know.
That's mad. I had no clue that was real. I just assumed it was a story. Jeez, I'll have to fucking read up on it,
Yeah, no, and then he shot one of his sergeants a couple hours before that.
Fucking hell.
Because they were in the middle of a firefight and his sergeant like, all of a sudden decided he wanted to be a conscientious fucking objector and run away, and he's like, nope.
Right. Just fucking John, Jesus.
But nobody fucked up after that. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
I kind of played off of this in Six Pistols and a Dagger, which was based kind of off Macbeth, but also off
it was very good, yeah.
But Blackbeard was like fucking so pirate fucking shit was fucking complex anyway, because like what you think of as the pirate captain kind of was like that, but most of the time they were elected because fucking like you can run the fucking ship, and then normally the captain was only in charge in combat. The rest of the time the quartermaster was in charge of the ship. So it'd be like the XO runs shit. We put the captain in charge when it's fucking do or die time, but they would
Oh,
vote on if they were going to attack a ship or not, or whether it's worth it.
Really?
And
that's fascinating.
Yeah, no, dude, fucking, we can go on about this, fucking. But I want to get to the Blackbeard part about what we were talking about. But Blackbeard was a little bit different, just because fucking he was elected, but they kind of did a Julius Caesar thing where it's like, we're not going to elect you to be the captain when we need you. We're going to elect you to be the fucking tyrant because you're kicking ass and taking names and shit. But at one point he had like 3 or 4 ships, and they were in a fucking battle, or on a raid or some shit.
Cool.
And one of their captains like pussied out and fucked off. So he got all his fucking other captains together and shot one of them. And everybody's like, you can't do that. And he's like, if I don't shoot one of you every once in a while, you're gonna forget who's the fuck is in charge. And they're like, actually, that's a really good point. And then like one other person was like, hey, so should we vote on a new captain? And Blackbeard was like, yes, because we can vote on a new captain. However, if I'm elected captain again, I'm gonna shoot you. And then he got elected almost unanimously, and the one guy that didn't vote for him got shot. The fucking thing. And what's funny is that was those couple of people in his own crew that he shot are the only confirmed times that Blackbeard killed anybody before the day that he died.
No way. That's really interesting. Yeah.
His thing was like, so you have to remember, this is the early 1700s. This guy's 6'3", back when average height's like 5'5" or 5'6". Like if you were our height now, you'd be a fucking giant. And what he would do is they'd latch onto their fucking ship. Excuse me. And then he'd go like run onto the ship, being a foot taller than everybody else, dressed in all black with this fucking hair on fire. Which he would put fuses in.
I've heard that wasn't a pistol or something like that. The slow burning pistols in his
like the fuses. Yeah, so he'd go around looking like he's like, this guy looked like fucking Satan, and he's like, "We're here for your shit," and it's like, "Don't kill me, take my shit."
Take it,
yeah. And then like one of the other things is like people like the romanticize that age of piracy about like, hey, they want gold and rum. It's like, they want gold and rum, but you know what's cooler than gold and rum? Not starving to death. So most of the time they just showed up and took your food. But like one of the other things I think is fucking great about the Blackbeard fucking legend, and this is why I called Thatch El Gran Diablo, or had the Europans call him El Gran Diablo instead of fucking Blackbeard, was if you look at like the English world's fucking records on Blackbeard, you know, he's around for a year or two, but like there was this 6-month period where he just fucking disappeared and nobody has any idea where the fuck he went. Like, did he like go fuck off? Did he kind of like retire for a bit? Did he take a break? However, in Spanish records, there was this dude that showed up in South America that they called El Gran Diablo that did all the exact same shit with the exact same people, with the exact same fucking like tactics and shit. And it's like, this is the same guy.
That's crazy. No way.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, like I will have to kind of read up on it, like because I mean, I only know the sheer basics when it comes to kind of pirate stuff. Like I did kind of figure a lot of it's kind of like being twisted and kind of changed up. It's not all like, you know, yar har har, bottle of rum, you know. Because even the Skull and Bones, I think that's a fictional invention, wasn't it? They used just a plain black flag or something like. Or
so normally they would do a thing. They would have 3 flags most of the time. Well, they'd have 3 types of flags.
Yeah.
They would have one type of flag where it would be they would fly the Irish, I'm sorry, not the Irish, the English flag or the Spanish flag or whatever, just like, hey, we're here, don't fuck with us, we're a merchant ship. And then if they raised the black flag, that was symbolic for we're coming to take your shit, surrender, and then we'll let you live as long as, you know, you give us your cargo. And then they would raise a red flag, which meant we're gonna fucking kill all of you. But normally it was like you raise the black flag first, you don't surrender, black flag comes down, red flag goes up, and that was also to, you know, symbolize not necessarily towards the whoever they're going to capture, but like the other ships in their group. Like, hey, red flag's up, okay. They fucked around, you're gonna find out. Yeah.
That's mad. Yeah, it's definitely something I'll have to fucking check up on a little bit, you know? Because it's a fascinating kind of era, like.
Yeah, no, and then like one of the reasons that that happened, the golden age of piracy, that, you know, because when people think of pirates, that was like a 50-year period, 20 or 30-year period in the fucking early 1700s. But what happened with that is before that, they had the War of Spanish Succession. The fucking Prince of Spain fucking died, and all of Europe went to fucking war, figuring out who the king of Spain was going to be. And England, being England, was like, we're going to navy the shit out of this, and also we don't have the money to actually navy the shit out of this, so we're going to give people this thing called a letter of marque, which means you can go do pirate shit, and we're not going to charge you as long as you don't do it against English ships, right? And that war lasted for like 10 fucking years. And then as soon as it was done, England was like, all right, guys, we don't need you anymore, have fun. And then they started fucking like building down their navy. So you have dudes that, like, this is back when like life expectancy is 40 fucking years, right? You guys that are 30 years old, and they're like, I have not done anything for the last 15 years besides raid shit. I don't have any marketable skills. What am I going to go be, a fucking farmer in Scotland? No, bitch. Guess what?
Yeah, it's mad. That's crazy. Like, because I mean, I read a little bit about the privateering stuff and how they kind of like legalized piracy and stuff, like, and like I kind of get the logic behind it, but I didn't think it directly came from that kind of situation, you know, that they basically created pirates and then just let them go, like, you know.
Like, what is it? Francis Drake. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all, but fucking, he was like a national hero in England because fucking he went out to do pirate shit. However, he had a letter from Queen Elizabeth saying, I don't like Spain. Fuck Spain. Do your thing. So he was out there just like murdering the fuck out of Spaniards, stealing their shit. Like, he not single-handedly, but like him and his crew single-handedly fucking like boosted the fuck out of England's economy by stealing a bunch of fucking gold from the fucking Spanish. So
didn't he raid South America or something? Was that him? He kind of like burned like a load of their colonies or something, like.
He burned a bunch of shit in Central and South America, but this would have been 1600s, so this would have been 100 years before America was a fucking gleam in our fucking eye, you know. But if you look at the histories, fucking England, fucking, it's like, dude, fucking one of our greatest fucking heroes ever, and then the Spanish are like, that fucking pirate. So it all depends on fucking what side of the fucking argument you're on.
Yeah, and that's what I say. Like history's written by the victors, you know. So like depending on your kind of perspective, I suppose another good one would be Churchill. Churchill would be viewed very positively in the likes of America and kind of UK and kind of like throughout the world for the way he kind of led kind of Britain during the Second World War. Yeah. But he's not really highly viewed over here in Ireland. Because during the War of Independence, he put together a paramilitary group, or a force, I should say, of demilitarized, or sorry, what you call it, demobilized British soldiers from World War One, and unleashed them over here. A lot of them were suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder, which wasn't diagnosed back then. So you had kind of like veterans who survived a couple of years of World War One, very brutal fighting. A lot of them were alcoholics. They were, suffering mentally, and they were unleashed on the civilian population here in Ireland and carried out like horrific kind of raids on civilian population. They burnt down the city of Cork, committed like unspeakable atrocities against the population, and that was Churchill who did that. So the defender of democracy in World War II is, doesn't have a very, isn't considered like the hero. Here in Ireland, and I suppose in a lot of kind of African countries as well.
Now, was that during World War II, or was that like in the 20s or 30s?
Oh, it was in the 2020s, so it was right after World War One. So it was before like he, kind of reached his stature, but he was like a big player at the time, over in the kind of UK government and stuff. So, he made the decision to kind of unleash these people against people who were technically, the Irish were technically British citizens at the time, were citizens of the Empire, and kind of unleashed thousands of these kind of like soldiers against the local population. So yeah, again, just one example of how like you say Churchill to an American or to someone from UK, and it's like, oh yeah, everything he did during World War II. But I mean, in Ireland, it's just like, yeah, he did that, but he also did this. Well,
he also fucked up Gallipoli in fucking World War One.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
Some of the bloodiest fucking battles unleashed there, by
that wasn't even like the English doing that. That was the Empire saying, hey, Aussies, fucking Kiwis, go deal with fucking Turkey real quick.
Colonials, leave it to the colonials. They'd be grand, and just fucking horrific.
Yeah, no. Gallipoli though is actually kind of not one of the big Marine Corps things, but like one of the like deeper in the lore things were fucking
were Marines at Gallipoli?
No, but we were preparing for war for the Japanese, or with the Japanese, for like 10 years before World War II. We started getting ready to fight them in the early 30s. And this guy, I want to say it was Victor Krulak, but I might be wrong. But Marine Corps general, and he was like, "All right, so if we're gonna fight the Japanese in the Pacific, this is gonna be an island hopping thing. It's gonna be a bunch of amphibious landings, and it's already been proven that this can't be done because the world's greatest fucking empire couldn't fucking manage it like on their own continent. On the other side of the world's biggest ocean on another continent doing this shit. Let's go look at Gallipoli. What the fuck did you do wrong? How do we do it better than that?"
Yeah. And that's where they kind of learn from the kind of mistakes. Is that what you mean? They can put a kind of a philosophy for the. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And what was it? Do you mind me asking? Like, what did they take from Gallipoli that could have been done better, and then implemented that in their own strategy for kind of clearing the Japanese islands?
Like a few of the things were stuff like where you put troops on the beach and when. Yep. But also, I think a big part of it was like in World War One, fucking you had guys pretty much on rowboats that got off the fucking battleships and
just walked.
Yeah. Or they would use a rowboat to get fucking as close as they could to the beach, and then fucking double over and go out, as to where it was like, we need to build a certain kind of boat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We need to build a certain kind of ship that from the back of the ship, we can put a certain type of boat that can get troops off quickly on the fucking beach instead of like regular battleship rowboat, have fun. Like like Gallipoli was one of the reasons that, America developed the fucking Higgins boat with the fucking door up front that falls down.
Oh yeah. I've seen those. Yeah. They're deadly.
Yeah. That was because we looked at Gallipoli and we're like, don't do this. We need a piece of equipment that can have us not do this. Also, beforehand, let's bomb the fuck out of it instead of just like throwing our dudes into it. Because like, granted, bombing the fuck out of shit does not fix fucking all problems, because especially back then, you can't bomb a bunker. Like,
yeah,
you can, but there's always going to be like, you can fight like a dog that's coming at you, right?
Yeah.
But like a tick, you have to dig out with a fucking pair of tweezers, which is why you need the infantry to do it.
Of course, yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't kill the dog first with a fucking naval fucking barrage.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. You soften them up. Like, even if you can't guarantee to eliminate them, you need to kind of like soften them up or weaken them up or demoralize them or cause injuries, drain their resources. Like, so that makes perfect sense. And I think that's like one of the things that kind of stands out to me is like how air power has been kind of portrayed as like this decisive factor, which I mean, it does kind of certainly help having like air superiority. But you look at the likes of Libya, how it's gone to shit, and the likes of NATO kind of just bombing the living shit out of the Libyans and kind of thinking, right, well, that's going to get rid of Gaddafi and everything's going to be fine after this. Like, and, you know, and they ousted him, but it's been anarchy since then, you know. Yeah. And again, this reluctance to kind of commit boots on the ground in certain situations. I think Syria as well, probably the latest incarnation of that, where you can hit them with as many missiles as you want, but unless you kind of have the infantry to go in and physically dominate the living shit out of the ground, you know, it's not going to really achieve anything long term, you know.
Yeah, no, and like it's quieted down a little bit about that, because like when we fucking well, we didn't kill Gaddafi, but like we got him killed. That was like what?
Yeah, that was fucking
And like they're like a lot of us are still pissed off because like right now the world's largest slave trade is in fucking Libya, and it's like, well, I mean, we kind of got rid of that, dude, but you know what?
Yeah,
fuck Africa, you know, fuck it,
yeah,
fuck it. We need to fix that. Fuck it.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're seeing so many fucking horror stories over here in Europe with the migrants kind of coming over and stuff, like, and just, you know, trying their best to escape. I suppose it's like some of the horrible situations they experience in their home countries and stuff, you know. And it's just like floods of people kind of the last kind of 2 years, I suppose, kind of pre-COVID. It was all over the media. You're looking at like thousands upon thousands. I don't know the exact number now off the top of my head, but like just children as well washing up on the beaches is fucking insane, you know. And you kind of say, well, look at the history of kind of colonialism and stuff like that. Like, is there nothing more we can do to kind of help? I mean, Ireland itself was a victim of colonialism, was a colony of the UK and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I think everyone, you know, should be kind of looking at, like, is there any way we can kind of make things better, you know? I don't kind of let stuff like this happen. It's fucking horrific.
Yeah, no, it is. Like it's weird conundrum too, because like, you know, it doesn't happen so much anymore because fucking. I would like to think that over the last 200 or 300 years, humans have evolved like that much, like not a lot, but like that much. Right. You know,
yeah, you're an optimist.
like with like humanity being humanity and all. So like we're not doing like colonialism bad or smut or fucking depending on who you are at all, but it's one of those things where it's like if you look at it fucking like dollar for dollar, fucking not dollar for dollar, but like pound for pound, I'm talking about weight, not pounds or whatever, like countries that had been colonialized are better off than countries that hadn't been, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with its own fucking slew of problems.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I've certainly heard kind of stuff like that before, but I mean, I suppose my query would be, are the people who are saying that these countries are better off because they're colonized, are they from the countries that colonized them in the first place, you know?
Oh, no.
Kind of arbitrary kind of information saying, well, yeah, I mean.
Oh, no, I'm talking about shit like fucking like North Korea, South Korea type fucking shit. Like South Korea got colonized by Americans after fucking, you know, the fucking Korean War. And it's like, they're one of the richest countries. They have like one of the highest levels of fucking like happiness. They're like free to pretty much do whatever the fuck they want, and then didn't get colonized. North Korea is North Korea, you know. So.
True, yeah, but I mean, again, even we can flip that on its side, and you look at Zimbabwe, you know, which was, you know, colonized. Well, I mean, you had like kind of white European settlers going in there for kind of centuries and stuff like that, but came under the British kind of control. I think it was like 1890-ish, give or take, around then. And like it was very kind of developed in the sense of kind of infrastructure and stuff like that, and kind of then grew into the colony of kind of, it was known as Rhodesia back then, you know.
And Rhodesia was a fucking mess.
Yeah, that was fucking horrific, you know.
Mid 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. I think it was like 1956 or to 1980. Was it 19?
Yeah, no, it was a nice one. Yeah.
Just rough, like just very, very kind of bloody kind of scenario. But you look at that, like since kind of independence, it's kind of collapsed in. And I know obviously there's like massive kind of mismanagement with Robert Mugabe when he was kind of in control and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a country that was kind of colonized, and it's it's the exact opposite of South kind of Korea, So I mean, is there benefits to colonialism? Or like, I don't know. I leave that to the philosophers. I can't kind of attribute it, like I'd often kind of like to think, well, my country would have looked like without the influence of the British, if we've been able to kind of grow in our own kind of natural kind of way, would we have like a different history, a different social outlook and stuff like that, I think it's the not knowing that's always going to be at the back of your head,
Yeah, and then like you also like this is always a giant fucking complex issue, and there isn't an easy. There's a sentence for an answer of it, but like. I guess just like natural fucking point of views is like fucking it's like my bloodline fucking like I'm Native American and Scots Irish, right?
Yeah.
So it's like fucking if America wasn't colonized, I'd probably be wearing a loincloth right now.
Right.
And the other part of me is like, well, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
there's just so many different angles.
I think there's a lot of where you're from and your own personal shit that like. I'm gonna say everybody. I mean me, but like I'm gonna just assign it to everybody that like we put our own shit on it because of how it either benefited or was detrimental to our own personal experience.
Of course, it's always going to be like from your point of view, like from based on what you've lived through and who you are as a kind of person. Like one of my favorite phrases, and I got it from Babylon 5, but I kind of use it as much as I can. And it's like that Captain Sheridan. I think at the end of the season, the Vorlon Shadow War and stuff like that. But he says the truth is a triple-edged sword. It's your side, his side, and the truth. And I think that always stuck with me because it's like, I mean, it's always going to be from your point of view, and the other person is going to have their point of view, and their point of view is dictated from the experiences that they've lived through and their history and their cultural outlook and that type of stuff, But I mean, the truth is still the truth, It's how can we chip away to kind of meet in the ground, in the middle ground, and discover that, That seems to be the thing about it.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I'm always mad at Obi-Wan Kenobi, because it's like, Darth Vader killed your dad. You need to go kill Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Wait, don't you mean that like Darth Vader is my dad, and maybe you could have told me this before I fucked my sister?
That's definitely one of the cringiest moments in sci-fi, though. They get stuck in and then find out their brother and sister. It's like, George Lucas, why?
Yeah, no, but anyway, dude, it's weird because like fucking the objective truth of anything.
Yeah.
Almost doesn't fucking exist. Like there's just what we think of it.
Yeah. No, I'd agree.
Yeah, I mean, because like fucking like to wrap it up, to fucking like since we're talking about fucking colonialism anyway, it's like fucking like should America have left fucking Great Britain, or should we have stayed colonies? Like there's a fucking argument about that, and it's like well, if we stay with them, we'd probably be doing this, and that's a good thing. But there's other people that'll be like, yeah, if we stay with them, we would be doing that. That's a bad thing,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's the whole speculative questions. You could ask them like till the cows come home. It's very, very hard to kind of wrap your head around them, and I think it's great for thought, kind of like thought exercises to kind of try and think stuff out, like and try and like look at it from different perspectives. But I mean, truth, it's completely subjective. I think in certain matters like that,
Yeah, and like I don't have the right answer, but I can be an asshole on the internet about it, and that's why I'm here.
Well, look, as long as you get to shit post memes, that's pretty much it. That's the essence of life, there,
Dude, no, it is. No, because that's the other thing too, is like considering the nature of the universe, right?
Yeah.
It does not care about existence itself. It doesn't care about life on Earth. I would say it doesn't care about life anywhere, but like we can only like we're pretty sure life is out there, but we haven't found it yet, so we don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
So whenever you think something matters, big picture, it fucking doesn't, because the sun's going to explode and it's not going to be a fucking argument anymore.
Yeah.
You have to find what's important to you and make it matter to you, because that's the only thing that would give it meaning.
Yeah.
And I think that is not what life's about, but one of the things that makes us human. In a good way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it makes us human in a bad way. Like, we're all contradictory fucking hypocrite assholes. All of us. All of us.
Exactly.
And that's we're human in a bad way. But like finding something that doesn't matter in big picture and making it medium picture fucking matter. That's a good thing about humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's plenty of good things that we do, you know, and and I'd certainly kind of agree with that. Like, you know, trying to, I suppose, like I suppose one of the ways I kind of look at it is like, you know, are you doing anything during a certain amount of time to kind of make your life better or make kind of the lives of the people around you kind of better, you know?
Right.
I think like having stuff like that kind of, you know, kind of leads you to start thinking, you know, more consciously. So, you know, it moves from you thinking about it or kind of talking about it with yourself and then advances onto the community and kind of, you know, then the wider community and stuff like that. So it's a good way of looking at things, you know. I do certainly like it, you know.
Yeah. I didn't mean to get all deep on you.
No, bring it on, man. This is what the Tripp Smokepit is all about, you know. We started off talking about like Afghanistan, and now we're talking about like having philosophical debates about consciousness and the meaning of life and stuff like so. Yeah.
Dude, you want to get a little bit deeper into it? It's like, does free will exist? Because like any decision you ever fucking make, you're making that decision based off of what you think is the best thing to do at the time. However, the fucking math you do in your head to decide on whether or not a thing to do is the good thing or not is based off of your own fucking life experiences. So you're 100% influenced by outside fucking sources. So did you really make that decision, or was all the experiences that you've had in the past added up to, do I turn left or right now?
Yeah, it's a head scratcher, you know. Yeah,
I mean, like I think I have free will, but like the reason I make decisions is like because of my own past experiences. So like I'm kind of a fucking slave to that. So am I actually making this decision, or the
some sort of programming kind of flicking off? It's not something I think I'm qualified to answer myself, you know. It does need to kind of delve into like the some philosophies around kind of consciousness and kind of awareness and stuff like that. Yeah. That's probably going to keep me up tonight now. So cheers for that.
Well, fucking, you're welcome.
Am I even alive?
Dude, no. Are you? Fucking no, because that's the other thing. So like people like, you know, there's that theory that we're all in a fucking simulation. It's like,
I've heard that. Yeah.
I mean, like if it got confirmed that we are in a simulation, what does that fucking change? Like, you can't get out of it. You can't do anything about it. It's just like, now you know you're in a simulation. And then like I think the biggest repercussion of that would be like fucking like, I guess maybe religion, but even at that point it's like, well, I'm gonna have this religion, but like I know I'm in a simulation, so like my God's not real.
Yeah.
But because I'm in a simulation, fucking I can still go to the simulation's version of heaven or hell. So does anything actually fucking change?
I can see you've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, if we found out, if someone had concrete evidence to say we were all in a massive kind of simulation right now, I'm sure there's plenty of people who'd be upset. You know, you'll always find people who'd be upset by stuff, but you know, once the kind of like, you know, after a couple of days or after a couple of weeks or months or whatever, and you kind of, you know, come back to reality and realize that you can't really influence the fact that you're in a simulation or not. I mean, yeah, life would just carry on because I mean, what else can you do about it? You know, so
yeah, like you still have to pay your bills, you still have to fucking eat.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, my questions would be like, who the hell would build such a fucked up simulation as this?
Like, you say that, but The Sims is a video game.
True. Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. You say that, but video games exist. Those are fucking simulations.
Yeah. I can't find fault with it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what does that say about us? What does it say about whoever built the simulation?
We're somebody's fucking entertainment.
Yeah. Look, I hope they're entertained. You know, that's all I can really say. You know, I mean, if they're after doing all of this, you know, fair balls, I suppose, fair play. Yeah.
I read a book. My buddy's dad wrote it. And I think it came out in the 80s. But fuck, if I remember, it was called Game Face. He only had 2 books. One of them was called Game Face, and I think it was that book. But the simulation part wasn't in the book. The book was about a computer virus that would go do shit, and then the computer virus, all it would do is on the screen, it would like activate the pixels in a certain way,
Yeah,
to where when your mind, when it went into your ocular nerves and like got into your brain,
yeah,
the signal in the pixels would tell your brain to build a virus in real life.
yeah.
So you would get an actual fucking virus based off of the signals you got from a fucking computer. So there would be a way, theoretically, if we found out that we were in a simulation, to kill the people running the server. But then what happens when the server fucking shuts down after we build a
This is such a marine kind of outlook on it. Like, you know, it's like we've moved from, you know, we're in a simulation to like, how the fuck can I kill the overlords now, you know? I mean, look, fair play. I'm still trying to like flashlight that.
Hey, dude, fucking, you're Irish. Fucking, we should have the same train of thought on this.
Exactly.
How do I kill the king?
Yeah, bring it on. No, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's like sounds like an intriguing kind of book. Like, there was another one I read there. It's by a Canadian writer. I can't think of his name now, but the book's called Oceania, or no, sorry, Darwinia, I should say. But again, it's got a similar kind of premise where, like all of like existence, you know, it's kind of, we're in this vast kind of storage bank or something like that. But it's yeah, I'm probably explaining this really wrong, but yeah, I think it's set just before World War I, and all of Europe just turns into this alien hellhole. Kind of like, so it's all like wild kind of like bushes and mad creatures and giant furry worms and stuff like that, but they renamed the continent Darwinia. So like the US is still intact, and the US is now like the unchallenged supreme power of the world, because like Germany's gone, UK's gone, everything, you know. But they start sending expeditions over to kind of like visit the inside of the interior of it and stuff like that, but you uncover all sorts of clues that lead them to believe that they're inside a simulation, and then the simulation starts breaking down, and kind of people start like fucking melting and stuff. Like, it's mad. It's one of the best books I've read, but kind of ties in a little bit with what you're saying there. So yeah, check it the hell out. It's very good.
Yeah, that'd be a different fucking conversation though. Like if imagine aliens did come here, right? Yeah. But like their culture would obviously be a lot different. But like imagine if they took everything literally, and everything you said they took as fact. Right. And they come here and they're like, hey, but also imagine that they also have their own fucking, you know, gods or whatever. Yeah. Like, hey, where are your gods? It's like, well, we killed them and nailed them to a tree. I'm sorry, what? We killed God and nailed him to a tree. Okay, so y'all fucking have fun. We're gonna find somebody else to talk to, because fuck that.
Yeah, I don't know. That is one of the theories about like why we haven't found kind of alien life out there, is like that they're all well aware of us, whether they've been watching us for a while or they've, you know, they're here like watching us, but we're so fucked up that they're just like, we're just going to leave them alone. They're launching nuclear, biological, chemical weapons at each other. Like, that's insane, you know, that they're like up there with their advanced space flight for like the last 10,000 millennia or whatever, and they're like, they're savages. Why the fuck would we want to get to know them? Let's give them a couple of eons to mellow out a little bit, and then we'll hang out, you know?
Yeah, no, that is one of the things that I do appreciate about fucking sci-fi, is like normally it's fucking like a critical thought about like how humans are this like beastly warrior fucking thing that anything you fucking introduce into, they're gonna fucking dominate. But I always read that wrong, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, we are. Fuck you alien scumbag. Fucking the only good bug is a dead bug, and you're right now. You put a nuke down a bug hole. You put a lot of dead bugs.
I'm from Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all. Yeah, I mean, and look, I think we do. It's based on our kind of culture and our history. I mean, you look at like the major European powers colonizing the world, and you know, the likes of the British going to America, and you know, British and Americans having Indian wars, and the French and stuff like that. You know, there's always that kind of it's coming from the concept of like these higher kind of dominant kind of, you know, cultural and political kind of powers. But I mean, it's very easy to kind of flip the script and say, yeah, I mean, there's probably aliens out there who could be like 10 times more advanced than us. And if they were to come here, it's going to be an extinction level event, similar to what happened to the native peoples in the Americas, you know, where not only is it direct military conflict that's killing them off, but it's, you know, the likes of diseases that they don't have an immune kind of system designed to kind of handle it, you know. So even something simple colds just wipe out millions of people and stuff like that. Could be a similar situation with us, you know, so. Yeah, dreary. But
No, actually, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna be a cynical asshole and wrap this back around a little bit, like both of what you just said and the fucking colonialism. Like, if you look at shit, everybody's done all that stuff. Like Asia fucking colonized other. I'm sorry, not Asia. That Asia's not a place. Like China fucking colonized a bunch of fucking other parts of China. Japan colonized a bunch of fucking everywhere the fuck else. They were fucking African motherfuckers that colonized a lot of Africa. Fucking. The Muslim conquest was a fucking thing.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about colonialism, Europeans are just better at it.
Yeah. Well, the thing was the advanced kind of technology. So yeah, they just put a European spin on something that, like you said, has been done. So I mean, virtually every culture has kind of reached out and kind of like conquered ones around it and kind of done all sorts of unspeakable kind of acts, you know, like every single people on earth, I think, is born of violence to some degree or another. I think the thing that kind of makes the last 2 centuries stands out is how it's been done at such an industrial scale. You know, with the advent of technology, how it's kind of changed something that went from, you know, you go in next door and you kind of steal the resources and stuff like that to this like fucking concentration camps of World War II, that type of stuff, you know. That's the scary part of it, you know, of new age kind of colonialism, you know.
And then like to say that again but cynically, fucking it's like, all right, so we got the British Empire that like the sun never sets on it because it's literally a third of the world's landmass, but we're gonna forget about this because turns out, as much as we want to hate the British, the Germans are fucking assholes. Listen, what the Brits did in like Africa and Asia and all that shit, that's bad. But holy fuck, we gotta go stop these fucking motherfuckers.
And I think even the Brits kind of pioneered the concentration camp system in the Boer War. But that was more of a kind of a relocation kind of settlement. They were pulling people out of their kind of, you know, all the Boers, pulled them into, you know, certain geographic areas where they could kind of manage them better. And
it wasn't discrimination, but
exactly. There wasn't like, I mean, they were still very, very poorly mismanaged, and a lot of people died of malnutrition and kind of sickness and disease and stuff like that. But I think it's the industrial scale killing that the Nazis did.
Well, that's like, I mean, it's horrific. Like makes me kind of wonder what the fuck was going on, because like, was the Nazis' goal actually to win that war? Because if their goal was to win the war, wouldn't they not spend valuable resources on fucking murdering everybody instead of like at least putting them in work camps instead to make war materials, or like maybe even like draft them into the fucking army to go fight instead? But it's like you're like, this is gonna sound very like inhumane, but you're putting people into fucking death camps just to get rid of them. You're wasting resources on destroying what's effectively a resource in the war economy. Are you actively trying to lose this war?
I think it's just that shows the level of detachment to reality, you know. So it's like the mentality, and it's coming from the top down, because I mean, Hitler was like a fucking maniac and a crazy syphilis infested bastard, like, you know. But in his worldview, he'd become so detached that he genuinely believed that he could like just take these vast segments of the population and, you know, divert resources to it to exterminate them, in the belief that he was ultimately going to be victorious. So I mean, you know, like it's more terrifying to me if they had been more logical about it and kind of like, you know, like you said, kind of just focused on the war and stuff like that. Like I mean, it's fucking, it's crazy. I struggled to wrap my head around it ever since I learned about it in kind of secondary school. But I mean, it just goes to show how disconnected that they were fighting a war, you know, against, you know, external kind of, you know, countries and stuff like that. But they were also fighting an internal war, and were just so adamant about like just destroying these people or anyone who kind of like disagreed with them. It's insidious. It's insane. You know, it's just crazy. It's like the darkest chapter in human history, you know, and it's only like 80 years ago. Like, it's
there's some people alive.
Yeah, there's still SS like and Wehrmacht soldiers still alive. It's fucking mad.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like to think we'll never see anything like that again, but
we probably won't for like maybe 150 years. Like just because like if you look at the cycle of like humanity, we have a bunch of like small fucking shit that happens. Like, it's not small to us, but grand scheme, it's kind of small. And then like once every like 150, 200 years, you have like a what the fuck moment. And humanity gets slapped. And then we like, okay, let's not do that again. And then like once the don't do that again generation has kids and they remember, and they have kids and they remember, and they have kids and they're kind of like, and they have kids and they're like, my granddad told me something about this, whatever.
Yeah.
And then these guys completely fucking forget about it. Then it takes the big loop.
Yeah.
Like
history repeats itself, you know?
Yeah. I mean, because like the same thing with fucking and I think there's a lot of fucking interesting fucking conversation to go on this fucking thing. But like Genghis Khan fucking was objectively a lot worse than fucking Hitler was. And on a bigger fucking scale.
Yeah.
But because it was fucking 700 years ago, it's like, I'm gonna dress up like Genghis Khan for fucking Halloween, you know?
Yeah.
And then like, hey, you know what's really cool is the Mongols did this when they went into this fucking country, you know? And it's like,
yeah, I mean, like when you look back at things, like you know, they do kind of, I suppose, time does distort stuff. And even there was that famous picture of, you know, the British prince, what's his name, Harry, when he wore the SS kind of armband and stuff like that. Like, now this is going back at least 10, 15 years, you know, but he dressed up like I think it was a brown shirt or something for Halloween, and everyone was like, what the fuck, you know? So, but I mean, he was saying at the time, he was like, oh, well, I was just doing it for a bit of banter and stuff like that, you know? So it goes to show that even like 78 years later, like how people can kind of make light of stuff like that, like, you know? So I wouldn't be surprised if 150 years ago, maybe it's going to be that situation again. And I think that's the scary thing, is like, how can we not learn from, you know, from our lessons and our mistakes and stuff like that? And, you know, I suppose the thoughts that something like this could happen again, but maybe on an even worse scale, is just crazy. I mean, you look at the advent of technology, you know, Jesus, what if the next person is more effective? Like, how can you combat that, you know? How can you ensure it never happens again, you know?
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's either going to happen with us because we're human. And as much as we want to fucking talk about fucking, listen, fucking, we're humans. We're cool. We figured this out.
Yeah.
We're humans. We're not cool. We haven't figured it out. And it's going to happen again. Like, it might be 200 years from now, but it's going to happen again. Or humanity's going to get our shit together. We're going to fucking unify as a fucking, like, human fucking race. We're all fucking one people. And then we're going to meet the Klingons. And then we're going to, you guys are kind of all right, I guess. Yeah, crazy fucking bastards. But the Romulans exist. Yeah. And fucking, we're going to do something similar to fucking invading fucking Normandy, except for instead of like Higgins boats on Normandy Beach, it's going to be fucking drop ships on fucking Regula 9. You know? And it's like, fucking, like, listen, we're not concerned about the human race. We're concerned about sentient life in this galaxy. And we're not going to stand for the fucking Kablapsozoids exterminating the fucking Googleites.
Right. Okay.
Like, it's going to evolve, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we're going to nuke ourselves to death, and it's not going to matter.
I'd say, yeah, that's one of the two, you know? I mean, I'd certainly vote for the, you know, the Federation of Planets idea there, you know what I mean? That sounds fantastic. I'd love to, you know, kind of like see some sort of utopian kind of society where everyone just gets along. Maybe it will take World War III first to get there, and we just accidentally have the Vulcans drop in, and, you know, things get better from there on out. You never know.
Yeah, dude, that's something people forget about fucking Star Trek, is Mad Max happened before they got their shit together.
Yeah, absolutely, you know. And even you see here, like, there's, I think it's the first or second episode of The Next Generation in the first season, where again Q kind of takes them back to when they were, like, you know, I don't know if it was before the war or if it was a little bit after the kind of the Third World War, but like all their soldiers are like drug addicts and stuff like that. And
where he's
like,
wearing that like, weird puffy
Gatling gun. Yeah, a big puffy padding uniform, and they keep pulling the thing up and like dose himself up with like whatever drug it was, like type of stuff.
Where it looks suspiciously like a fucking vape pen, and it's like, call this again.
Yeah, and having show trials and floating judges and stuff like that. Like, so.
Well, I mean, there was also, what is it? The fucking movie with the Nexus in it, where they went back to the past to fight the Borg.
Oh yeah, First Contact.
Yeah, and it was fucking in the early days after everyone fucking nuked themselves, or after the Mad Max era, after fucking World War III, fucking getting their fucking shit together.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, I suppose only time will tell. It'll be interesting to see because I mean, obviously, right now it's a very fucking tense time. I remember even kind of growing up where I have vague recollections of the collapse of kind of communism and stuff. I was born in '86, so I kind of vaguely remember kind of bits and pieces around that, and stuff like kind of Russia, kind of coming out of the communist system and the kind of the Balkan Wars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's like right now, it just seems really, really tense compared to then. Because I mean, you have like a rising kind of assertive China, you have kind of Russia seemingly fucking everywhere, like the boogeyman behind the door type thing.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that Vladimir Putin is literally a James Bond villain.
He does it so fucking well. Like dude,
I wish I had a leader like that in my country. Where it was like, yeah, do you know what? He might be an asshole, but like he's gonna get shit done.
Yeah, it's insane. I think it's fascinating we even played the kind of long game, because I mean you look at we kind of protested the likes of different countries on its borders kind of joining the EU and kind of joining NATO and stuff like that, and that went against agreement that the Americans and the Russians kind of signed, I think, after the collapse of communism. And it was like the Americans and kind of NATO agreed to stay out of Russia's quote unquote backyard, sure, that the country's directly on its border. But
we did.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it kind of happened that a lot of these countries, wanted to join the, what would go on to become the EU and join NATO for, their collective security against Russian aggression. Because I mean, after 50, 60 years, or not 50 or 40, kind of 40 years of kind of communist occupation, they kind of wanted someone to kind of back them and say, well, no, let's not do that again. Yeah. But I mean, the Russians kind of protested that for years, and then invaded, the Georgia in 2008 and occupied those two provinces within 4 or 5 days or something like that.
Yeah,
and then just stopped.
Ukraine fucking
it was crazy. It was like it just stopped for a couple of years, and then out of nowhere they're back in Crimea. So it's rather than you kind of think that, right, you go in, you take what you want to take, and then you move on to the next base and move on to the next base. What's scary about Putin is that he does see the longer term picture on stuff like that. So he knows it's not about just taking what you want straight away and holding on to it and stuff like that. He takes it in pieces. It's
well. The other thing with that, and this is coming from the American side of the fucking argument, where we have a fucking government that changes every fucking 4 years. Russia's been doing what the fuck Russia wants to do, since the fucking early 2000s. It's kind of this weird thing to wrap your head around. It's like, dude, how are you going to combat a single ideology doing a single ideology's thing? Same thing with fucking China, when we fucking change our mind about what we're trying to do every fucking 2 to 4 years.
Yeah, I suppose it's trying to convince kind of those other kind of ideologies and different kind of political kind of outlooks and stuff like that of the benefits of your system, and I suppose not even your system, it's quote unquote Western systems or whatever of democracy, and that's the one thing is that I mean, yes, there's entrenched oligarchs in virtually every society, whether they're known about or not. There's always going to be these political families and or kind of organizations that maybe pull the strings to a degree, but for the most part, I firmly believe that democracy is in the hands of the people, that people can vote on these different governments to kind of lead them in whatever way they see fit, and no, I have to I'll gladly hold up Ireland there and say it's not perfectly I mean, we're constantly lighted by our government regardless of who's running the fucking country, but at the same time they still live in fear of being voted out in the next election, so they have to do something. If they can't do everything, they have to do something. They have to give us a better standard of living, or they're not going to be the people who's going to rule us for the next 5 years,
yeah. So, yeah, dude, it's a weird fucking conundrum. Fucking was it Tommy Allen in the comments saying Black Sea grab is an interesting topic. NATO told Georgia no, then the Russians took Odessa, then the same thing happened again with Ukraine. And yeah. I mean, because it's also one of those things where it's say Russia or China does something, and it's we're like, hey, don't do that, and then they're like, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And it's well, we're not going to invade you. It's oh, you're not going to invade us? Well, we can do whatever the fuck we want then,
Yeah. So it's kind of this. It's like a void left over from the Cold War thing, because the one thing that defined that was the Russians deep down were terrified that America was going to nuke them and invade them and fuck them up. Yeah. And the flip side can kind of be said as well that the Americans were kind of worried about like Russian kind of like bombs. You know, you look at like the Cuban missile crisis and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think there was always that mutual fear that, like, you know, I suppose I know there's mutually assured destruction, you know, but there was always that concern that, like, they'll hit us, we'll hit them, blah, 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 you know. But when you have the Cold War gone, the communist threat is nullified, the West is declaring victory. That's when you have a situation where the Russians are kind of saying, okay, well, we're not communists anymore, but I mean, we still want to do things our own way, you know? So if we do this, are you going to drop a bomb? Are you going to drop a bomb over fucking Georgia? Are you going to drop a bomb over Ukraine? And the answer is no. And once they hear that no first time, they know, right, okay, we can actually keep pushing. We can keep pushing, and we can keep moving into these different territories. We can keep like doing all sorts of these black ops operations, and nobody's going to do anything. I mean, you look at Ukraine, like there's no intervention there. There's kind of like, I mean, the EU are kind of, they're trying to prop up the Ukrainians, and in all fairness to the Ukrainians, they are like holding their ground. They're trying to like defend their country and kind of retake the parts that were stolen from them. But there's no military intervention because of fear that it'll provoke the Russians into a wider war, you know?
Yeah, well, the thing about the fucking EU is it's as useless as the UN or NATO. Like fucking like what is it, like 40, like everyone like right now is like trying to like blame Afghanistan on like America, and it's like, yeah, well, that's one thing, but like people like to forget that like 42 fucking countries invaded fucking Afghanistan for that shit. But in that, there was the NATO ISAF, which was the International Security Afghanistan Forces that were that was the NATO fucking thing. However, while we were over there, we called that "I Saw Americans Fighting" because fucking dude, no, like no shit, fucking like the Spanish and the fucking French over there, they would do shit like they would get in contact and they'd be like, all right, well, not our war, fuck off, like we're not firefight. And then like that was why it was really bad in like 2008, 9, and 10, because fucking that's like when we got done with Iraq and went back to Afghanistan. We're like, hey, NATO, you guys had this, right? NATO's like, yeah, no, we were totally holding the country down. And then we got back there and like, oh, so you were not holding the country down.
NATO.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not everybody. Fucking like the Brits were fucking kicking ass, and I'm not going to take anything away from them. The rest of them, though.
Yeah, kind of like a half-hearted approach. And I mean, I'm sure there's people, regardless of what country you kind of went in there and did their best, but I think like in the grand scheme of things, it's it's been called a NATO kind of war, but like it's always been seen as an American and British kind of one for the grand scheme of things, you know?
Yeah, because like fucking like a lot of people will go there and be like, well, fucking, am I going to go into this firefight? Like they did 9/11 in my country, fuck off. And except for the Brits who are like, you hurt my kid. Which is one of those things where everybody's like, American like I fucking love / hate it when English people, not even British, but like specifically English people, like American imperialists or blah 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 whatever. It's like, where do you think we learned it, Dad? It is a bit of a mad one in the grand scheme of things, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think when you look at kind of NATO and stuff like that, it is. I think it's a vital part of like kind of, you know, quote unquote Western security and stuff like that. But I mean, it has been kind of neglected since the Cold War's over, and I think that's why we're dealing with the ramifications of that. I mean, I think the big thing, I know what successive US presidents have kind of mentioned it, and I think Trump being one of the most recent ones, but even before that was Obama, is kind of calling out the fact that like to be a part of NATO, you have to spend like 2% of your GDP on you know, your armed forces. And I think there was like, of all the countries that are officially part of, again, don't quote me, I think there was only like 1 or 2 outside of America, if even that. I know like Germany, I think, was one of the biggest contributors, and they were like 1.2% or something like that, you know. I think that the Brits were 0.9%, you know. So it is kind of showing that, you know, there's this kind of like very relaxed mentality to it. And I think it's because, you know, for the guts of about a decade before kind of like 9/11, people were kind of like, well, look, the communists are gone, you know. So I mean, look, if the Americans want to spend a shit ton of money to like have bases over here to like strike out whatever enemy they want to leave them to it, like why should we fucking spend our GDP, you know? We won the Cold War, you know. That's a big thing though, because like everyone likes to point at fucking like Central European countries or like fucking like Scandinavian shit, and they're like, hey, listen, they're doing all this shit with their fucking public work, you know, programs and shit. It's like, yeah, because they're not putting any money at all into defense, because we're doing that for them. Because like right now, most of Europe's battle plan for if Russia invades is hold out till America shows up.
That's literally like, it. Yeah.
And it's like fucking like, yeah, dude, like fucking I'm as far as like say, you know, fucking like Donald Trump went, fucking very complex fucking feelings on that personally.
Yeah.
But one of the things I think that he was right about was like, yeah, no, we should pull out of fucking NATO. Like, we're the only people paying the fucking bills. And if shit were to happen, we'd be doing all the shit. Either make them fucking pay their fucking salary or tell them, hey, listen, you didn't want to fucking pay. Russia wants to show up. You didn't pay your bills.
Yeah. And it makes sense.
Why should we send Americans to go fight for fucking Estonia if they fucking show up?
Yeah. Look, I'll totally get to the perspective, and like I said, like I mean, it's pretty much the same as what Obama said. So it's not like, you know, it was just Trump kind of hammering this as successive American presidents and called out NATO on this, you know. Yeah. So I mean, I think they were right. I think it's just how Trump did it is what sent shockwaves, you know, because it was like publicly stating, you know, or threatening, you know, quote unquote allies, and that's why everyone was a bit. Now Ireland isn't a part of NATO, you know, we're a neutral country and stuff like that. But like even from you know my perspective, I was kind of reading that and thinking like that's not how you do things, you know, because I mean, yes, you know, these countries in NATO may not have been meeting the obligations that they agreed to, you know, when they signed up to that pact. But at the same time, you don't announce to the entire world, you know, and all your potential enemies that, you know, the American powerhouse could potentially leave NATO, collapsing everything. Because I think like my own interpretation from American kind of like doctrine, right, is that the reason, you know, they intervene in these different countries is because Americans don't want bloodshed on your own streets. You know, you don't want, you know, a 9/11 thing. I think that's one of the things I remember reading at the time was one of the reasons why it's psychologically so shocking to the American population. And just specifically the American population. Now, I'm not taking into account everybody else and everyone else's reactions to it. Right. But one of the reasons why it psychologically impacted Americans was that you're not used to that from a foreign kind of power or a foreign kind of you know, military or whatever. You know, you have domestic terrorism like every country has, but most of the countries in Europe and throughout the world have dealt with external aggression. You know, so with the exception of like say, you know, the Japanese bombarding Pearl Harbor and kind of 9/11, it's been relatively like I can't think of any situation, you know, in the last kind of 100 years or 150 years where you've had that. You know, I know there's 1812 and stuff like that, but in modern kind of recent times,
well, there's also a time where we like got pissed off and fought ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you've got the Civil War and stuff like that. But I mean, how often, you know, like, and again, I understand the history of America, that we had our own war of independence and stuff like that. But in recent times, it's been designed to, rather than kind of have, you know, enemy soldiers in the streets of fucking, you know, Washington and Texas and stuff like that, we need to go over there, preempt it. We need to make sure that we've bases away from the American kind of mainland to make sure that the bad guys are kept far at bay, you know?
Yeah, no, because since America's been founded, Poland has been a country 3 times.
Yeah.
And that is that's the on again. Like, so it's like Poland's not a country. Poland is a country. Poland's not a country. Poland is a country. Poland, it's like, and that's just like one fucking example of it. So I mean, like there is that mentality. It's like it's better to fight them over there than it is over here.
Exactly, and that's why, you know, I personally disagreed with kind of President Trump's approach. Now, obviously, he's the U.S. president. Who am I to disagree? Like, I mean, I can't walk up to his house and say, "Hey, you got that wrong," you know. But I mean, that's one of the things that kind of struck me as a bit of a mistake.
That's one of the great things about being an American, because I can fucking tell my president to go fuck himself.
Yeah, exactly. He's your president, you know. So you have that kind of right and that obligation to call them out and stuff like that, you know. But I mean, from our perspective, it's like, why would you announce that to the entire world? You've weakened like your own defensive alliance, the one that you created to keep these bad guys off American streets and stuff like that. And you basically given them the green light and said, hey, we're all a bit upset over here. You know, America might just pull out, like, and that just sends these signals to, you know, a growing, more assertive China and to Russia, who's kind of like rubbing his hands saying, great stuff, happy days. Like, we'll move into fucking Ukraine, we'll move into the Baltic states next, you know, and what happens then after that, you know, because that war is then going to gradually ebb closer to America's streets, essentially. You know?
And the other thing with that too, though, is just knowing the nature of America. Like, if we pulled out of fucking NATO, which personally I think we should do, but if we pulled out of NATO and shit hit the fan, we'd end up fighting that war anyway.
Essentially, and that's what it comes down to, you know, is like, do you want to fight that war in Europe or do you want to fight that war in Pennsylvania? Essentially, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw the comments. That's my brother there. If you were an airplane, would you rather be boarded from the front or the back?
Well, I mean, that depends on what kind of airplane.
There you prick.
I mean, fucking like personally, I'd rather be doing the boarding, but
whereas you just find me in the airport kind of lounge having a few beers, so watching the boarding.
I mean, if that's what you're into. No. Actually, speaking of that though, yep. Fucking did you ever you play video games at all?
A little bit when I was kind of younger. Now I'm never like, I'm not a mad gamer. Like I played one game that ironically my brother got me when I was like 19 called Rome Total War, which is a mad kind of strategy kind of battle game. Like, and I play that religiously. Say once every 6 months, I'll like for a couple of hours I'll play it. But I'm not really too mad into them.
Like I'm not big into them either. But like fucking like I'll get like a video game every 3 or 4 months and just fucking like roll through it. But they re-released Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like complete, fucking like build up to it. Like they did it twice, and one of them I didn't like. The other one, was like a reimagining. The other one was like, we're just gonna make the graphics better and go for it.
Yeah.
But the last mission on the fucking other one on the remake is I don't know what country you're in, but you're pretty much like in Air Force One, and you're SAS dudes like killing fucking like Spetsnaz guys, and then like you're going through it, and like the last bit of it's like, all right, you saved the president or the prime minister, or they don't tell you who the fuck he is, but there's also a bomb on the plane, so you got to parachute out of this fucking bitch. And like the last part of the game is like you just see your feet and your hands falling while the parachute's deploying, while the plane's blowing up, and you got like the fucking president or prime minister or the fucking is like in your fucking arm lock.
Deadly. That's crazy going, man.
It's mindless fucking, fuck me.
But that's what you need. Like, I think you need to take a bit of time off every kind of couple of weeks or couple of months just to kind of let your mind unwind, step away from all the madness and stuff like that.
Because like also like I don't take breaks. Like fucking like I don't have a job, right?
Yeah.
I live off of fucking like my painting sales. Like I'm very fortunate. Like I'm not doing too much better than paying the bills.
Yeah.
But I'm also paying the bills and fueling my fucking tobacco and alcohol fucking habit by fucking
look, as long as you've got that covered, then you're winning.
Right. But like while I'm waiting for paint to dry, I'm either writing or I'm reading or I'm fucking doing another art project that's not on that fucking canvas or fucking whatever. And that's fucking wake up to fucking go to sleep, So
that's good. It's good. It's good to have that mindset, like you're constantly kind of creating. I think the dream is to kind of have that something grow into I suppose a situation where it is paying the bills and it is kind of like fun in your lifestyle and stuff like that. So but it does take the slog to kind of get there. So that's it's really cool. It's like fair play. That's all I can say. Especially where like how prolific you've been over the last week or two in terms of your kind of artwork. So keep rocking with it. It's good to see.
Yeah, well, I've been mad about a few things over the last week or two, so it's been like on that shit. But actually,
capitalizing it.
Could you do me a favor?
Sure.
Could you entertain the people for like a few minutes while I go empty my fucking bladder?
Sure. Give me an open mic and some whiskey, and I'm sure it'll be entertaining.
I'll be back in a minute.
Take your time. Okay, now that Tripp's gone, what does everyone really think of Tripp? Go into the comments. No, but so look, fair play to everybody who's kind of like hopped on. Obviously this is my fifth time of being on the Tripp's Smokepit, so it's great to be here. And as always, I've no idea where these conversations go. I think we just kind of get into this loop where we just we start on one thing and just move on to another, and it just escalates from there. So it's always fantastic. You never really exactly know where it's going to go, but I mean we always touch on interesting subject matter. So Tommy Allen says he needs a haircut. Yeah, looks like a bit of a hippie, like should play that bad boy, But so look, if anyone has kind of any questions or comments that you just want to kind of dive into, and Heavy Rain on PS4 was a fantastic game, and I do distinctly remember, and that's my brother Ned, by the way, for everybody who's kind of watching this. I do distinctly remember kind of my brother kind of getting that game, and he was playing it. I was watching him play it, and I was just completely enthralled. It's like a cinematic kind of masterpiece of a game that's based entirely on your kind of ethical outlook. So given these different challenging situations, how you react to it, in a short space of time determines the outcome of the game. And I've never seen anything like it before. It was very kind of intriguing, role-playing game, plus with these moral, ethical dilemmas and stuff like that. It was insane. So yeah, I mean, I've never seen a game like it. But yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, okay, so first off, I actually got a haircut on Tuesday.
We saw the picture, yeah.
My hair is only this long right now. It used to come down to my fucking ass crack, so you're welcome, motherfucker. Also, I take exception to me being called a hippie, just because. Find me another hippie that's actually killed somebody. How about that?
True, fair point.
Secondly, Heavy Rain was a fucking goddamn good game.
That was crazy. Dude, crazy. I've never seen anything like it, just so unique, I mean, I'd love to kind of meet the person who kind of sat down there and said, how are we going to introduce ethical dilemmas into a role-placed, action-orientated game about tracking down a child murderer? It's
like, do I save my daughter or do I get electrocuted to death and cut some fingers off? Because I got to do one of these right now.
Yeah. And it's crazy, Now, it kind of it reminds. Well, I know obviously Heavy Rain came out earlier, but I heard about a book by an Irish author. It's called The Chain, and it's like a crime fiction book, but it's about a mother who's kind of recovering from cancer, but her child gets kidnapped by this kidnapping group or something like that. But in order to get her child back, she has to kidnap another person's child and deliver them to it. So apparently it's all to do with the moral and ethical kind of consequences. Right, okay, your child's been kidnapped by these people. If you don't steal another child for them, then you never see your child again. Would you do it? Could you do it? And stuff like that. It's like I said, I haven't read it. It's on my list as soon as I kind of clear the amazing books that I've kind of read. But
well, going just off of that fucking thought experiment, I would, because I'm selfish, but I would feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, well, my kid or yours? And it's like, I know there's not a right answer to this, but my kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd say the vast majority of people would, and like I said, I think that's what makes it, as I said, I've never read it, but I've heard people kind of say it's really kind of gripping in terms of the psychological impact it has on you as a reader. So yeah, as soon as I can get a chance to do it, I'm swamped with books now at the minute.
That's also implying that the person doing the kidnapping is not Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, in which case I'm going to kidnap that kid to trick you into think that I kidnapped that kid. Yeah. And then I'm going to save that kid and my kid. And then also we're going to have a 30-minute machine gun scene where I fucking get rid of the problem.
Commando style, yeah. One-handed machine gun battle,
Yeah. Which that's one of the things I fucking love about fucking movies is machine guns never jam in these movies. Now, granted, fucking you can get a machine gun to work fucking flawlessly. However, practically you get 40 rounds out of that before you have to do a fucking clearing fucking
fucking pain in the ass. I know. Yeah, look, we've all been there, and it is. It's I think it's one of those things that annoys me as well. You're watching an action film and they don't reload. That's why I appreciate action films that have it that sense of realism where they're physically carrying around their ammunition with them, and they are kind of loading up and they are kind of doing that stuff. But yeah, I would like to see kind of maybe a few more instances of a gun jamming, because we've all been there and it's horrible.
Well, one of the things that I appreciate is. You've seen Saving Private Ryan, right?
Oh yeah. Great film, yeah.
There's the beach scene, but
that's in Ireland, by the way. Shot in Wicklow.
I did not know that.
Yeah, right. Or Wexford, I should say. Yeah, that entire beach scene is in Ireland. Yeah.
Nice. But what I thought was probably the most accurate part of that movie was at the end where the American dude comes up to the German dude, and they both shoot and miss, and then both one dude pulls off his fucking helmet and just throws it at him while he's trying to fall in the grave.
Yeah,
it's so fucking frustrating. It's that's probably that's besides the beach scene, that's the most accurate part of this fucking movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's just fuck shit. That.
Yeah, and I think it adds to it as well, because it makes it instantly relatable to anybody who's in that situation or is kind of ever use the firearm and stuff like that, So it's good, and I don't think it takes away from like too much of a scene if you see realistic situations, with guns where you're running out of ammunition and they're jamming or whatever kind of situation. Even though I liked it in We Were Soldiers, Joe and Mel Gibson, and the mortar was overheating, and they're all kind of freaking out over this because obviously they're trying to like lob as many fucking mortars into the, and they all just like starts pissing on it, and they all just start pissing on the mortar to cool it down, I'm not sure if Hal Moore actually did that, but I mean it's like I can understand that type of situation where you don't want to waste water,
Well, and there's also the flip side of it. Did you ever watch the Pacific?
Yes, I've only seen that once now. I didn't like it as much as Band of Brothers. I thought it was still very good now, but I'm due for a rewatch. It's been a couple of years, I know.
But you remember that scene where John Basilone was like fucking killing all those Japanese dudes for like 8 minutes?
Not offhand now. It has, in all fairness, it's been a couple of years since I've watched it.
So there was a scene in it, and the scene was like 5 to 8 minutes long, and the Japanese were overrunning this position, and then this one dude and his team have this machine gun up, and like everyone else is dead besides them, and there's like mowing down the fucking Japanese that are running at him with this fucking machine gun. But in the show, they portray it as if it's like a fucking 10, 20, 30 minute fucking thing, and it all happened one night. But in real life, that was like 3 days. Crazy. And that one dude with his fucking machine gun, and then his other guy that fucking reloaded and shit, and the other dude in the back was wounded, that was fire directions, that happened over the course of fucking 3 days. And that John Basilone, the fucking dude that did that in real life, he's on par with anything that you've done in a video game. We're like, this isn't fucking real, but it happens in video games, so fuck it. It's like, no, dude, that did that in real life.
Insane, isn't it?
And it's funny because there's conflicting sources on this or things or whatever, but historians who weren't there say that he only killed 36 dudes.
Was that all?
People that I'm sorry, he only killed 36 dudes, and he stopped a battalion from fucking coming through. But people that were there were like, dude, put a 0 behind that and multiply it by 2. That dude killed 700 fucking people over the course of 300 days, and doing nothing besides for a fucking
yeah.
And then fucking that dude's got a fucking interesting fucking story. So gets the Medal of Honor for that. They pull him out of the fucking conflict, and they're like, you're gonna go around and sell fucking war bonds. And he's like, does that for a year, and then he's like, okay, this is cool and all, but I didn't join the fucking Marines to sell fucking war bonds. Send me the fuck back. And he goes back to the fucking fleet, fucking trains up fucking whoever, lands on fucking Iwo Jima, and in the Pacific, in the show The Pacific, he lands on the beach, yells at some people, and then fucking dies. But in real life, fucking he landed on fucking the beaches of fucking Iwo Jima, fucking over the course of 8 to 12 fucking hours, gets a tank unstuck, fucking murders the fuck out of a lot of fucking Japanese dudes, saves a bunch of other fucking American dudes' lives, and then gets killed. Fucking he's the only American to get the Medal of Honor and then die in a battle afterwards. This is one of those dudes that when they sent him on a ship, they had to bring fucking 14 tugboats to pull his balls behind it.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. It really is crazy, and I think that's probably the most craziest things about these scenarios is that the vast majority of these people aren't kind of these gung-ho battle hardened. They know how to do fucking everything straight away. That they're just normal human beings that have received high-end kind of training, and they've got great kind of colleagues and platoon mates, but ultimately it comes down to them in that situation. So you take that exact same character. I mean, how fucking ballsy would you want to be to sit at a machine gun for 3 days while 100 of these fuckers are coming at you non-stop, and just to keep going. It's some level of balls you just can't wrap your head around. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, there's balls that go into that, but there's also fucking a vast fucking thing of empathy that people don't put into the fucking conversation. Because Audie Murphy, he's our number one guy that's got all the medals, fucking most decorated American war hero fucking ever. He did the North Africa shit, and then in France, he took on a German tank battalion with a machine gun, and won. And then they were interviewing about it afterwards. They're like, dude, what got you through it? How did you do that? And he was like, they were killing my friends.
Yeah, that's mad.
And it's like, yeah, dude, it's one thing to have balls and go do some shit, but it's like when you get down to the human level, it's like, why did you kill 400 Germans? Like, they were killing my friends.
Yeah. That's I mean, that speaks volumes right there, you know, I mean, no matter what adversity you're kind of going through, is like the fact that the first thing that comes to your mind is not like, I'm going to fucking die. It's like, they're killing my friends, they're killing like my mates and stuff like that. Like, you know, of course I'm going to fucking do that, you know. It's just, you know, it's very easy to say that in kind of real life, and like when people aren't shooting at you, but it's the people who kind of like, when the shit hits the fan and there's bullets fucking whizzing everywhere, who can actually commit to that, and that's their single focal point for that moment right there. Is not whether I live and die. It's like, you know, my friends could die. You know, my friends are dying. What can I do to influence the outcome? You know,
and then we'll make some bullshit Hollywood movie where it's about honor. You know, like, nah, dude, fucking
just wrapped in the flag. Like, when it ultimately comes down to situations like that's something as simple as, you know, looking after the person to the left or the right of me. That's it. You know, and that's like, the difference. You know?
Reality of the situation is they shot Jeff. I went ape shit.
Because I like Jeff. You know, he's a good guy. Yeah. So I'm gonna fuck up this tank battalion right now. That's how much I like Jeff.
I am not writing this motherfucker's mom a letter saying, I'm sorry, Mrs. fucking Smith. But on behalf of the United States Army, your son, no, motherfucker.
Your son died, but like I took out an entire German tank battalion. So yeah,
with a machine gun.
That's insane.
And fucking, I don't remember the specifics of it, but like fucking, like read up about Audie Murphy, and it's like, you did what now? And then what's funny is like he came back to America afterwards and got in Hollywood and like make movies.
He was an actor. I recognize the name from that. Like, I didn't know about his military kind of service.
Yeah. But when they made movies about World War II with him in it, they had to tone them down because the producers like, okay, no one's gonna believe that actually happened. So we got to tone it down.
Well, actually, but I lived through it, so
yeah,
that's crazy. Imagine that, like having like, you know, a Hollywood career handed to you based on your like exemplary kind of military record, and they have to tone it down.
Yeah,
that speaks volumes.
You know who Jack Churchill was?
No,
he was one of the dudes that started the SAS, and on Normandy, he landed with a fucking claymore, the broadsword. And a crossbow.
Is that Mad Jack?
Yeah.
Mad Jack. Yeah. I've heard about him. Yeah. The claymore and the fucking bagpipes. Storming Normandy.
Yeah. And he's the only guy in World War II to have a credited fucking bow and arrow kill, and it's like, that's where I know what a Panzer is, and I know what an MG42 is. Like, I'm not gonna go at that with a bow and arrow. Like, good on you, man.
That's where it took the name Mad Jack in Big Red and Blood Red Sand, because I read that story.
Oh, nice.
No, obviously, look, I just clearly missed his name, but I remember reading about like Mad Jack, and I was like, first off, that's a cool name. Second of all, that's an insane story. Storming Normandy with like a fucking bagpipes and a sword. I'm definitely taking that.
You read it and you call bullshit, and then like you read the sources and you're like, oh, okay, so
that actually happened. So I think after I read that, I was like, okay, I love that name, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that in Big Red and Blood Red Sand. You know, obviously it's not the same character, but the nickname's the same. But I was like, fucking no wonder, Mad Jack. That's a great name.
Yeah, well, also I'm sure we've talked about this before, but like Scotty from Star Trek was at fucking Normandy.
That's why if you look at the original series, he always keeps his hand balled into a fist because he lost like his two fingers. And it's mad when you actually go back and you rewatch it. Every scene that he's in, and I don't know, I think it's his left hand, and I could be wrong, and feel free to correct me on that one.
There's like one scene where you can see like the
but he always keeps his hand kind of in a fist. So like if he ever has to use his hand, or he's holding a tool, or he's being expressive or something, it's with one good hand. And that was part of his stipulation for being in that show. It was like, look, I'll do it, but I'm not going to show people my kind of wounds for whatever reasons.
So, and that's why you don't fuck with Canadians.
What?
And that's why you don't fuck with Canadians.
Yeah.
First they kill the Red Baron, then they do that shit.
Some fucking balls. But it's an impressive story. But Jesus, that fucking Audie Murphy thing, that's insane. That's really cool.
Ah, shit. Just spilled
Yeah.
beer everywhere. Oh, well. Well, I shouldn't say oh, well, because that's a sin. But,
Yeah. Yeah, look, fucking happens.
it do. It does. That's one of the fucking things we have going on over here where people are like, I don't like Guinness. It tastes like motor oil. It's like, okay, so you're a man, right? Why aren't you just drinking motor oil anyway?
Yeah, exactly. With a big cigar. Yeah. No, like I know I kind of used to like drink Guinness when I was kind of younger, and it's still like the odd time now. Back when we had pubs and stuff like that, like I'd have a pint because I think the nicest kind of drink that you can have when it's well poured and it's done in the right way is a pint of Guinness. I mean, the only flip side to that is it can also be the worst drink you can ever have if it's not done right, you know. And I've seen it like going abroad and stuff like that where people just don't pour right in kind of pubs where they just like stick a glass under it and just hit the tap and it just comes pouring out.
Oh no, you got to do it at an angle and you got to let it foam up, and then the I think nitrates is the right word. You got to wait for those to fucking like make their way out of the fucking.
You have to, we call it, you have to let it settle, you know. So you give it approximately like 2 minutes to kind of settle, and then you top it off the last 8, and you again give it like a couple of seconds after that to let it settle, and then you start drinking, and it's lovely. It's like milk after that if you get a good point. But
yeah, so like right now we got this nice foamy head. We're gonna wait for that to die.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
I mean, if you got that in an Irish pub, like everybody would be like, "What the hell? That's insane!" Like the barman would be beaten to death for handing that to you. You know, it's just like it's a national crime.
I'm drinking it. I'm pouring it myself. I'm waiting for it to fucking die down.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not. I'm going to drink it here in less than fucking 2 minutes.
Okay.
I like
it. And when I get to America, I'm going to show you how to pour a really decent pint out of a can. All right, that's going to be my mission. I'll show you exactly how to do it. Right, you know.
God, I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
Hold you to that. As soon as COVID's over, you're going to come over here, and we're going to fucking go to wherever the fuck it is, and then
Gettysburg 2025. Me, you, Tom, DeRudder Jackson, and Michelle Packard are going to Gettysburg, so you can show me around the battle site. You know, and I can just wander around, just exploring all. That's the plan.
And that's going to be the day, and the night is going to be all right. So our country's honor is on the line. Pour the shot.
Bring it on. Yeah, that's gonna be class. Yeah, certainly look forward to that. So yeah, I mean, look, it's only a couple of years away, and hopefully things will be settled down by then. So
yeah,
but because I mean, I've never been to America, and I've heard great things about it. And you know, obviously,
well, I've never been to Ireland, but I plan to go one day.
Yeah. So. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Obviously, I'll show you around and shit like that. Yeah, so, yeah. Post-COVID world where things settle down and everything's okay, and World War III isn't breaking out.
Yeah. That's well, see, my only fear about going to Ireland is based off of my experiences in other countries where I don't experience the culture. I experience whatever bar I showed up to first. And I can tell you about some really cool bars in Singapore. You want to ask me about the rest of the country? I mean, it was there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing about Ireland. It's part of our cultural history. So you're actually learning something. You're supporting the local economy, and you're visiting Ireland by visiting our pubs. You know, there's a pub in Ireland that was the oldest pub. It's in Dublin. It's just, I think it's near enough to the city centre. I can't think of the name of it, but it was founded by the Vikings. You know, so like 1,000 years later, it's like the fucking stone bricks are still there and shit like that. You know.
Well, there's one you were telling me about a while ago that you were really upset about because COVID closed it for the first time. That it had been open for 500 years.
Pub? No, I think it was kind of upset in general with pubs being closed, and I think it was more around kind of like, you know, St. Patrick's Day missing out on that. No, I mean, obviously it was the right thing to do, and like I completely support that. And
yeah, but just because it's the right thing to do doesn't mean you can't be mad about it.
Oh yeah, look, I'll put my hands up and say I was the first person to be upset because I love St. Patrick's Day. Like I really, I like get joy. Like, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, I can't go on social media too much on that day because I get completely overwhelmed with nationalistic fervor. And if you look back on like the likes of my kind of like social media accounts,
so on face,
it's like I'm painted up in the Irish tricolour, got the flag, I'm dressed in green, and I'm going around, and I'm just big happy head in me, just like, you know, really enjoying the moment and kind of connecting with other kind of people. And I love the parade because we didn't have it here where I live in a place called Tala in South Dublin. It's big big, huge urban area. It's about like 110,000 people kind of living in it, kind of like suburbs. But we had the parade when I was growing up, but then it got cancelled because of a thing called foot and mouth outbreak, which was like a disease. It kind of impacted kind of cattle and stuff like that, and it hit the UK as well. It was like a mad cow disease and stuff like that, you know. But they cancelled it on that in health and safety grounds or whatever, and they never brought it back. But they only brought it back for like the first time like 3 years ago. So we got two St. Patrick's Day.
Just in time for fucking COVID.
I got two of them in my own kind of like, you know, hometown, and it was the first time like I've had kids for it and stuff like that. So I got to take my two kids. I had my niece there, and it was like, you know, it was a good family kind of gathering. We went down to, you know, the village, you know, which is kind of like our town center, and kind of watched that. And it was just like real childlike glee, and I'm shouting and screaming, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, afraid. And then we had a second time, and then COVID kicked in, and for like the last two St. Patrick's Day, you know, it's been like, well, the first one was up on top of a mountain with half of Dublin, where, like I mentioned before, I think it was a real kind of spirit of solidarity situation where everybody couldn't celebrate Paddy's Day the way they normally would, which is going to a pub or going to the parade. So we all decided to go up there to the mountains and stand together in a weird socially distance kind of way, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, it's been surreal for the last year, but I'm really hoping we get a parade now, you know, next year, you know, because I really need my fix up parades, you know.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way about 4th of July, because it's like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
What, 360 fucking 3 days of the year, fucking like England is our best friend. That one day, fuck you.
Yeah. You just have to, you need that outlet. You need to kind of just like let loose and kind of just give in to those primalistic kind of urges of just waving a flag and shouting really loudly and type of stuff, you know?
Yeah, dude.
In a harmless way.
Like, I fucking hate people that kick back about that shit, because like I would not say at all that I'm a nationalist, right? Like, yeah, with all the fucking whatever. But at the same time, I fucking love my country, and you know what? Fuck you.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. As you really should, you know. I mean, I think there's a difference between your country and your government, you know. Like, so,
dude,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, I love Ireland. I mean, Ireland's got a lot of fucking problems and stuff like that. It's not the most perfect place in the world, but I mean, I am so glad to be Irish, 100%. I wouldn't trade this to be an American. I wouldn't trade it to be, you know, born in the UK, to be French or anything like that. I love being Irish. It's amazing. You know, it's a beautiful country, beautiful culture.
Real quick, I gotta stop you. Like, look. I love being an American.
Yeah.
The English are cool. Yeah. You bring France into it, that's a different conversation. Like, dude, fuck them. Like, France, no. Sorry. I don't even care what the fuck the argument's about. Do not compare me.
Exactly. Don't touch it. Yeah, but yeah, look, I mean, that's it. And now the one thing I will say to you is, right, I love being Irish. I absolutely 100% love it. Never change it in a million billion years. Like, it's just a fantastic existence. Yeah. But if I were to be given a choice to be born anywhere, it wouldn't be, you know, I wouldn't necessarily want to be in America. I'd love to have been born in Texas, you know, and I think it's because that's where Pantera comes from. You know, so I mean, that's just, you know, like 100% happy being Irish. But if I had the second choice, Texas.
Oh god, dude, I really hate you for that, because I'm gonna get a bunch of fucking people that are like, yeah, Texas. And I'm like, oh god, I have to do
well, Texas invented Pantera, like, so.
Yeah, no, dude, Texas invented a lot of fucking shit.
Although
I kind of would have thought that you would have went with the fucking Scottish thing, because like it's like, well, I mean, they're not Irish, but they're close enough, I guess.
Yeah, no, they didn't invent anything even close to Pantera, so yeah, that's why Texas. Yeah, 100%.
Well, they invented AC/DC.
Yeah, true, but not Pantera.
Yeah, no, they didn't do Pantera.
The Great Southern Trendkill, you know.
Yeah, no, and then like, what was it? Los Angeles and Buenos Aires has Slayer.
Oh yeah, wasn't it? Yeah, because Tom Araya, he's from Chile and stuff like.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, so there you go. Yeah, that's why it's on my to-do list. I'd love to kind of like kind of visit Texas and stuff like that. You know, if I had a perfect world, if someone kind of said, right, here's a universal kind of ticket of all the places that you'd want to visit in America, right, where would you want to go? I think top of the list would be Gettysburg, just because I love kind of like, you know, historical battles and stuff like that. I just love to kind of just like have someone kind of say, right,
there's a lot of battlefields in fucking Texas too, because like Texas was its own place for a bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's like, it's the rugged kind of like, they were on the frontier for like 10 years. They were independent and stuff like that. So I'd love someone to kind of take me around and be like, right, that's where that battle happened. And then we could kind of wander around and be like, that shit happened over there, and that shit happened over there, and this person did this, and I'm like, what? You know?
Well,
no, got a cowboy hat now.
In Texas, you have Texas independence shit, Texas Mexican shit, American Mexico War, which is a different fucking thing.
Yeah.
Our Civil War, which was also took place a little bit in fucking Texas, like, but also Texas is bigger than like France. So
yeah,
I mean, like a big fucking place. Like a lot of people don't fucking realize that like a good amount of the states in America are bigger than other fucking countries. Like by any fucking definition, we're imperial or an empire. Like even because like fucking like you have an empire here, but an empire is a bunch of different fucking countries. But like most of our states are bigger than fucking other fucking countries, you know.
Exactly. I think isn't it the GDP of California is like the 8th highest GDP in the world or something like that. That's just the state of California, you know.
Yeah, but Texas is 5.
Yeah, it's crazy when you kind of look at it, and that's why like I think people are so fascinated with the the concept of the United States of America. Is like you have all these huge, like, I mean, they're countries unto themselves who kind of have this federalized kind of government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one individual kind of like state is the equivalent of like a vast segment of countries out there, you know. And then you have 50 of them all combined together, you know, all kind of working for the common good for the most part, but with their own individualistic kind of histories and cultural outlook and kind of like traditions and stuff like that. It's a fascinating experiment, you know. It's really intriguing. Yeah, so I think that adds to the kind of charisma and interest of it all, you know.
Yeah, no, it is. But also, do not ever fucking compare me to fucking Frenchmen again.
Understood. and vice versa, right?
France.
Yeah, so look, go Texas. So yeah, if you have any mates who are Texans and want to take me,
actually, I have a lot of friends in fucking Houston, and I haven't seen them in a while. So I mean, fucking, depending on what's going on, fucking, it might be we're gonna spend a few days in Gettysburg, and I'm gonna show you what's up in fucking Houston.
Hell yeah, come in.
Yeah,
badass. Yeah. Well, I'll definitely have to start getting the list together, you know, because I mean, there's a lot of places that I'm not really too interested in the touristy type of stuff, you know. I wouldn't want to, you know, like go to Planet Hollywood or whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, no, like Hollywood's a letdown. Fucking Washington D.C. is also like a letdown unless you're into fucking sculpture and you go look at all the statues we erected.
Yeah.
But besides that, Washington D.C. is kind of like I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, just skip to the good stuff, you know. Oh yeah, and what's the story with Washington? I remember there was talks about making that a state. Is that going to happen or?
It kind of fell off. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's for the good because the reason that Washington is because it's not in a state, and we didn't want our capital to be in a state.
Makes sense. Like, yeah, you remember reading about that?
Or fucking whatever.
Yeah. And what about Puerto Rico? Is that still on the cards or?
I don't know. So I personally think Puerto Rico should be a state, but at the same time, like it's a territory, and this goes back into the American fucking imperial thing. But like at the same time, like there's a lot of Pacific islands that, like, if we made Puerto Rico a state, then we'd make Guam a state, and then we'd make like a bunch of fucking like random fucking like islands that like aren't technically in the Philippines, but like it's figurable to say they're in the Philippines.
Yeah,
states too, and it's. I don't know, fucking like I kind of think it's better for them to be a fucking protectorate because like like say Puerto Rico, right? Like they don't pay Americans taxes.
Right.
And they don't really adhere to American laws. They also do benefit from like American fucking money we're putting into it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, and fucking like anybody in the fucking comments can feel free to fucking argue with me about this shit, but it's like you're getting all the good stuff, but none of the bad stuff.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
But if we made you a state, you'd get the bad stuff too.
Yeah.
So if I was Puerto Rican, I wouldn't want statehood because I have to pay a lot more fucking taxes and fucking bullshit. Yeah. I have to like adhere to a lot more laws that are bullshit.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't be a clear advantage because like right now, fucking like say Guatemala invaded fucking Puerto Rico. Like America's gonna be like, dude, that's ours. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so they have all the benefits and none of the fucking. I'm sorry, not none, but like very little of the fucking downside. And it's like I kind of want that for the state that I live in.
Yeah. Well, look, it makes sense. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I was always kind of curious about, because I'm aware that there's all these different kind of like overseas territories that are kind of under American administration and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I always kind of wonder why, like, if an American president wants to leave a legacy, why don't they just kind of add more states into the union? Because I mean, you're not 50 states. Like, wouldn't you want to be remembered as the president who kind of brought 2 new states in, or 3 new states in, or something like that?
We don't remember the other presidents for that. Like what Hawaii got here in fucking 53, and Alaska, I think 48. And I think that was Truman and Eisenhower, but like that wasn't their like big things. Right. So like that's one of those things where like, the president did it, but that's like not his legacy.
Okay, it's not really one of those things. Okay, yeah. Look, I
suppose we all have to change our flag every time we get a new state.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and look, I suppose when you kind of put it like that, I just thought that'd be one of those things, because I remember President Trump was talking about, like, was Greenland, wanted to purchase Greenland off Denmark. Pretty said it publicly, and like the government in Denmark, who administrates kind of Greenland, or it's part of their kind of like system or whatever, was like, that's never been discussed. We're not selling it. It's not happening, But I thought that was like an intriguing move, because like it's like, first off, if that were to happen, I mean, that's another kind of American state on the border with Canada and stuff like that, and it's kind of, he's going to add a 51st state to it, to the union. So that's something that, whether you like him or you don't like him or whatever, he's always going to be remembered as the president that added another star to the flag.
Yeah, no, and like that's its own fucking like weird conundrum too, because like fucking like Canadians are very like, we're not Americans, and it's like, yeah, but for all intents and purposes, you are. You have about the same rules. You have about the same culture. You fight in all the same wars we go to. I don't see a reason why Canada shouldn't be part of America. But if you say that to a Canadian, they're gonna fight.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna punch you in the fucking dick.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've met a few Canadians who've expressed the exact same views.
But at the end of the day, it's like fucking like a lot of American celebrities are Canadians, because Canadians are like, I could be a celebrity in Canada, or I can be an actual celebrity, which I have to move to America for. Like Alex Trebek, Canadian. Fucking Jim Carrey, Canadian.
Brendan Fraser,
Celine Dion, Canadian. Fucking so on and so forth.
Yeah,
and that's true. One of the comments says they're American. They are in North America. You know what? Fucking why not? And actually, do you know what? Fucking given America's fucking foreign policy, the world's American, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you can certainly argue like American culture has kind of like been prevalent one in kind of at least Western Europe since like the 60s. Like, I mean, I remember reading about it. We had, or we have, I should say, one of the longest running shows in Irish history is called the Late Late Show, and it was run by a TV presenter called Gay Byrne, who based it on the American late night talk shows. So we never had anything like that on national TV. But I mean, he started that in the 60s, and he got a lot of kind of pushback on it, because it was considered culturally kind of Americanism, the fact that, like, we're having these talk shows where these different guests are expressing different opinions and stuff like that. But I mean, American culture is kind of prevalent throughout kind of like the world, so in a way you can certainly kind of argue that there is that American cultural domination, compared to, say, like, of nobody wants to be Russian, nobody wants to be part of the Chinese Communist Party, so it's an intriguing concept.
Yeah. So speaking of cultural stuff, before we started talking, and I have a question I want to ask you, and I want you to have the answer, but I don't expect you to have the answer. Yeah. But if you did, fucking I want to hear it. So before we got on, fucking I was listening to fucking Thin Lizzy, and that song Whiskey in the Jar, right? Yeah.
Great song.
What does whack for the daddy-o mean?
So it's like a drink for your granda. So daddy-o is like it's an Irish word for grandfather.
Okay, so it's like whack. So like fucking me drinking my grand is like whack for the daddy-o.
Yeah, exactly. So just a glass of alcohol for your grandfather would be the best way to translate it,
Oh, All right.
Yeah.
Fucking that's good information to put in my
Yeah.
brain housing group. Part 2 to that is Captain Farrell like kind of like a real dude, and not real dude, but like, you know how like Robin Hood has the sheriff?
Yeah.
Is Captain Farrell like the sheriff, or is he that just somebody they made up for the song?
I genuinely don't know now, because like the song "Whiskey," "Whiskey in the Jar" that Tin Lizzy did it's their own version of a much longer kind of ballady kind of Irish song. So there's like 12 or 13 different verses to it, and it's a lot more in depth in the sense of it kind of explores like what happens to that character who's singing that song. So he does end up in prison, and then he's writing a letter to his brother who's in the British Army, asking him to help him and stuff like that. So I'd say listen to the original version of it first, that's not done by Tin Lizzy, and then listen to that song after, and it'll give you a bit of context. But there could have been a Captain Farrell. There was a lot of like British, army officers who did things.
Yeah.
I just don't know offhand if that's based on a historical character.
All right. So listen to the original, listen to Thin Lizzy, and then listen to Metallica. Got it.
Exactly. Because I have to say I've listened to the original version a few times, and it's good. It's a traditional kind of Irish kind of ballad and stuff like that. But there's a lot more kind of like, it's not just like 3 verses. There's a lot to it, like kind of thing, and it's still that funky, whiskey,
right? But like, if you're making like a rock song, you gotta fucking
exactly. You have to jazz it up a little bit, and you have to cut pieces and kind of put your own kind of twist on it and stuff like that. And they did it very, very well. Like Tin Lizzy, fantastic band, and Phil Lynott, like an absolute musical genius. He's considered like one of the greatest people from Dublin, who's ever existed. We absolutely love him. And to anyone out there who hasn't kind of heard of Tin Lizzy, I say listen to them. If you like rock music, listen to them. He was like his father was an American serviceman, who got like he's kind of he's black, he's a black American serviceman who got an Irish woman pregnant. I think it was in the 50s, and then fucked off basically. Never heard of him again. So to be a single mother in Catholic Ireland to a mixed race child, horrific. In 1950s, 1960s Ireland, that's horrific. That's tough. And she herself, she's like a hugely renowned person. Philomena, her name was. But she's like huge in Ireland for like doing that, for kind of like raising that child single-handedly, unmarried mother, with a mixed race child in Ireland during those times, with the Catholic Church controlling morality and having influence in government policy, and to raise someone who grew to be Phil Lynott, who was like a musical genius, like an absolute one of the greatest Irish people who's kind of ever lived and contributed to Irish music. But yeah, it's crazy when you actually look back at his kind of story and kind of all the things that happened to him. And after, obviously, he gave into kind of heroin, and that destroyed his life.
I don't know much about the members of that band, so I don't know what happened to him. I didn't know he got into heroin. That sucks.
Yeah, that's what killed him in the end. He was huge into it. There was a heroin craze at the time. It still is here in Ireland. It's not as huge as what it was, but at the time it was like kind of like a new drug. They were influenced by like the likes of the rock stars over in America and Europe. Everyone was kind of getting into experimenting with heroin at the time.
Yeah,
so kind of hit here naturally, So
that's a weird thing too, because it's like fucking like you'll have people in a genre, and I think it started with I forget what the fuck his name was. I remember his last name was Brown. I don't remember his first name, but he was a fucking big fucking jazz musician. Yeah, early on, fucking played trumpet, and
cool.
This dude was like leaps and bounds beyond anybody else in the fucking like 30s and 40s. And everyone was like, "What's your secret?" And he's like, I think in an offhanded fucking interview, he's like, "Heroin." And everybody was like, "Heroin makes you fucking play music like that?"
Yeah. That's how it starts, yeah.
Yeah, which it wasn't, because the dude was just fucking like an amazing fucking trumpet player. But like, if you don't know, and you're like, the only way to get good at fucking making that kind of music is to do heroin, fuck it. I want to be a good.
That's it. Yeah. It just, I think that once that association, the association is built into your mind, you're kind of going to think it's cool. I mean, can you imagine like someone on social media nowadays saying that? If you imagine someone with 2 million followers saying, what's this, the ingredients to your success, and you say heroin, there's going to be a vast segment of that population that's going to do it. So I think, it's completely normal to kind of see that. And I think there was kind of people like in the day, back in these different eras, who kind of did genuinely kind of rely on these stimulants to kind of promote their creativity and stuff like that, even though it may not necessarily be the case at all,
Yeah.
Well,
that's one of those things though, because like it's like, how do you judge your evils? Because how many authors are revered as great authors who are like, how'd you write like that? So I was drunk as fuck when I was writing that. And it's like objectively speaking, alcohol is nowhere near as bad as fucking heroin. But the fact is, like, you're fucking getting under the fucking influence of something to create fucking art.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to build that connection because you even look at Stephen King, and wasn't he had a huge drug problem when he was starting off.
But he wrote a lot of cocaine.
Yeah, it was either Kerry or Cujo that he wrote, and he was completely whacked off his head and has no recollection to this day. So several decades later, still can't remember writing that manuscript. Whatever happened to him, like when he was so drugged out of his mind, chucked it in the bin, and it was only his wife happened to be clearing out the bin, pulled out this manuscript, and was like, "This is actually pretty good." And he was like, "Okay, well, fine, if you insist, I'll work on it." But like, you imagine being so drugged out that you can't remember writing an entire novel.
Well, I mean, I don't remember 2016, so like, I don't want to judge him too hard.
Absolutely. And look at it, we've all had those kind of blackout moments and stuff like that. It's just, it's crazy. It's bygone era, I think, when people are kind of promoting stimulants to be creative.
Yeah. You don't see many fucking people in music nowadays doing that fucking shit either. Because like fucking like, you remember back in the day, like especially like fucking like the 80s, right? It's like, dude, what made Motley Crue hit this hard? A lot of cocaine.
Speedballs.
Right. Look it. Why not, man?
Yeah. I think again, it's just the public mood has shifted. Like, there's no longer that kind of like acceptable kind of people being okay with it, because I mean they've seen the damage that it's done to kind of people. So everyone in the 80s are kind of promoting these drugs and kind of like being pro, like, let's all bang up on a load of heroin and snort a load of coke, are dead now.
But like at the same time though, there's this other argument, and I'm gonna sound shitbaggy when I say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. People got off heroin, and then we got 90s rock. People stopped doing cocaine, and then Guns N' Roses broke up.
Right, so you reckon
I mean, people stopped drinking, and then we got everything after the third Bon Jovi album. Like, I'm just saying, dude, some people have to make the sacrifice to fucking make good art. I'm just saying, like,
look, I mean, if you
enjoy your life, so I can enjoy what you make out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, if you want to make the individual choice to bang up a load of heroin to create some art, that's your choice. I suppose, like that 90s manufactured pop music thing is definitely something that I think we're all quite content to forget about.
Yeah, we got off cocaine and we got Backstreet Boys. That's a consequence. It's like, this is what happens when you're clean, and it's like, God, dude, is being sober worth it? I mean, fuck, man. Like, would we have had Led Zeppelin without marijuana? No.
Yeah, look,
no.
Again, there's definitely ways of looking at it, I think
it's like, I don't think you should destroy your life over it, but someone I don't know should.
Yeah, exactly. Look, each to their own. At the end of the day, like, if they all want to like bang up a load of heroin together, like, sure, just create some great art. Keep it coming.
And I'll read about your tragic story in the fucking like whatever fucking article pops up.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh man, that sucks that he died.
On Facebook. I like it, and I'll share it, and then gone.
Yeah.
On to the next one.
Yeah,
it's our consumerist outlook there.
Yeah, dude. No, it's fucking, it's his own fucking thing. But like, fucking. Yeah, no, that's what it is. But then at the same time, though, fucking like you got people that made fucking folk songs fucking 200, 300 years ago that we still fucking sing about shit that, like, granted, they were probably drunk when they wrote it, because, that's the acceptable fucking drug of choice. Yeah. Cheers, mate. Like fucking not to go into too much stuff, and you might be able to infer a spoiler out of this, but I'm not going to give you the spoiler out of it.
Okay. Yeah.
But when I was writing book 7, I was listening a lot to Irish folk music, like especially a song called "The Wind That Shakes the Barley."
Right. Yeah.
If you know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's about fucking some chick, and she's like upset that her boyfriend's going to fight the British. She's like, I want to get married and have kids, but you got to go fight the British. So
Yeah,
get my kids with somebody else. God damn, dude, this sounds depressing as fuck.
Yeah, there's definitely a good segment of kind of Irish music that is based pretty much around that premise of like, I want to live my life, but I also have to go fight and kill some British. So what am I going to do about it? Will I stay with the love of my life, or will I go fight and kill some British? Yeah, so yeah.
As one does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thing. Yeah. Actually, yeah, you should actually watch the film of the same name, the one that shakes the barley. It's very, very good kind of film set around the Irish War of Independence, and really kind of almost ties into, or does actually tie into the Civil War then after. So, yeah, really, really good. It's got what's his face? Can't think of his name. Irish actor from Cork. My mind's gone completely blank. Completely blank. I don't suppose there's any Irish people watching this. Help me out.
Not Piers Brosnan.
He was Scarecrow in Batman.
Oh, his last name's Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, there we go. Yeah, spot on. But yeah, starring him, Cillian Murphy, as like a young kind of Irish person who wants to go off and become a doctor. But it's in the height of like the War of Independence, and like Irish people are getting harassed left, right, and centre, and they're kind of like burning them out of their fucking houses. So he joins the IRA to basically fight them and stuff like that. So it's it's a good film, but it's not kind of like an us against them type of stuff, because it shows the hardships of first off of the war, the things that the IRA did against the democratically elected kind of Dáil Éireann, which was our kind of parliament, and how then the shift when the treaty was signed, how kind of like former brothers in arms turned against each other. So we had the split into the Free State Army, which was democratically kind of elected official kind of government army, versus the IRA, who rejected the democratic will of the people and wanted to continue on the fight.
So I'm not very well versed in that. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So basically in Ireland's kind of War of Independence, it was like I think it was 1919 to 1921. We basically, the IRA kind of said, right, we've tried the democratic kind of process as much as we possibly can. We've elected our own kind of Dáil Éireann, which is our kind of parliament. They've sat together. They've decided that we are a republic, regardless of what the British Empire says. So they started kind of looking at like, what can we do to undermine them? And this is on the back of like 1916, which was a historical kind of conventional battle when the IRA seized key areas in Dublin to basically say, well, fuck you, as we're a country and shit like that. And the British base crushed the insurrection. So when the War of Independence kicked off, we were led by, not led, but effectively led by General Michael Collins, who was our Minister of Finance, and he was head of the intelligence kind of section of the IRA. But he kind of orchestrated this campaign of what they call like flying columns, which was small independent ground units operating in a decentralized capacity. So they were given an area of operation and said, right, anything that happens within this area, it's up to you to do. You're not going to receive like orders from like headquarters. You just go, if you see a bunch of British, you fight them and then you run. So the whole process was to just go out there and hit and run kind of guerrilla style attacks and destabilize the British kind of forces, but at the same time to usurp their kind of ability to administer the country. So setting up parallel courts and parallel kind of like parliamentary system. This went on. Long story short, we waged our war, brought the British to the negotiating table, which was a huge feat in itself for the British Empire, which was basically owned like a third of the world at the time, and they were the greatest superpower. For them to negotiate with a bunch of backward heathen fucking Irish like kind of thing, it was a huge thing, So basically negotiated a treaty. Obviously the British were very experienced in constitutional issues and having treaty negotiations, where the Irish weren't. We were kind of more focused on like guerrilla style warfare and stuff like that, didn't have like strong credentials in that type of area. But hammered out a treaty that basically meant that 26 counties out of the 32 counties of Ireland would become the Free State. Not a republic. We still had the Queen as our head of state, which again goes against republicanism. We weren't going to be a unified country. There was going to be a border poll, so that like the 6 counties could vote whether they wanted to join Ireland or not. Obviously, because they were unionist kind of dominated counties, they went to the UK, and it was put to a vote in Dáil Éireann, which is our parliament. It won You know, so people were like, yeah, their parliamentarians were like, yeah, we actually support this treaty. Sounds like a good call. Eamon de Valera, who's like the head of the Irish movement at the time, said, well, fuck this, you know, the Republican was made by the Irish people and it can only be broken by the Irish people. So we need to actually have a national general kind of vote. And we need the people out there to vote for whether they want to accept this treaty or not, whether we carry on the war, we accept 26 counties and dominion status within the British Empire. And they did that, and it was a landslide victory for the treaty. So the IRA will actually, they were pretty much like, well, fuck that, you know, bollocks, we're going to keep fighting anyway, you know, and that led to the Civil War then. So it's pretty much, it's Irish history summed up in 4.5 minutes.
Well, at least 20th century fucking shit, because like, fucking God, I don't remember what the fuck I was reading or watching or whatever it was, but it was talking about how this is only like kind of half unrelated.
Yeah.
But it was talking about how the Irish were originally from somewhere else and they came to what the island of Ireland is, and then they killed all the gods that lived there.
Yeah, I mean there's been several, or I think something like 7 or 8 documented kind of migrations to Ireland over the last several thousand years, you know. And I think the most dominant one is the Celts moving originally from the likes of India and spreading out into Europe, and then kind of like conquering the native peoples here. So yeah, I mean they say that we're kind of descended from Celts and stuff, but I mean realistically there's a lot of kind of like inbreeding between different cultures like the Vikings and Anglo-Saxons.
The one I was looking at was like more of a mythological thing where when they got here there weren't like actual natives, they were just like gods and lesser gods, and the people like
probably the Tuatha De Danann, I think it was.
And I think that's fucking hardcore. It's like our island was founded off of killing the old gods. Like, it was all right, cool. Yeah, we fought the British, but like we didn't like kill God to do this. But all right.
Yeah, that's I do remember reading about that stuff in kind of primary school, you know, because like it's mad kind of when you look back at it, like, but like when I was in primary school, which I don't know what the American version of that is. You know, when you're like young, you're like between the ages of 4 and 12. Yeah. So like it's only kind of now the gift of hindsight you can look back and think, Jesus, that was really politicized, you know, like during that era. And I suppose it's against the backdrop of like a lot of stuff that was happening on. There were still like, you know, terrorist activities up in Northern Ireland between the IRA and the UVF and stuff like that, you know. So it was against that backdrop, but we had a very nationalistic education and when it comes to history, so we only learned about the positives of, you know, quote unquote, what our Irish people have done. So like for instance, like the Irish people, you know, brought civilization back to Europe after Rome fell, you know, through our scholars and stuff like that. The ancient Celts were the first one to conquer Rome, you know, like Vea Victis, you know, woe to the vanquished. The Romans had to, you know, give gold to the Celts to drive us out and stuff like that, you know. And then it leads on up to the modern kind of history where it's like JFK's Irish, you know. I mean,
and look what happened,
like Michael Collins, is it Michael Collins or Buzz Aldrin's Irish, you know? They're Irish. The first man on the moon is fucking Irish, you know. So it's all this like really, you know, we've only ever done fantastic fucking things, like like we did, but there was no Ireland when the Celts invaded Rome, you know.
So I saw this fucking meme and I thought it was fucking great, where it was like you know, there's this Roman guy and he's talking to this fucking, you know, Germanic barbarian, and he's like, fucking the barbarians will fucking never amount to anything, and the barbarian replies, why isn't this meme in Latin?
Love it. That's brilliant.
Because hey, listen, fucking I am fucking on board that barbarian horde shit.
Yeah. It's the way it is. Like, I mean, just like history and stuff like that. There's change is inevitable. You know, it always happens. You know, I think it's like you can sustain an empire for so long, but I mean, empires always fall. You know. Yeah. I mean, Rome did. Even if it took what 800 years, was it 1,000 years?
So it depends on how you count Rome, because like there is a foundation date for Rome, but you can count the fall of Rome when Rome itself fell.
Yeah.
Or you can count it when Byzantium fell, because they considered themselves Rome.
They were the Eastern Empire, wasn't it? Yeah.
Or you could count it when I forget what the fucking third one is. It happened sometime in the 1500s, where I'm forgetting the fucking point A, B, and C on this, but there's a valid argument to say that the Roman Empire fell in like 86.
Yeah. No, I've read stuff like that. Like, yeah.
And then there's also fucking, if I'm standing on it, Rome still exists.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Which is fucking there's this channel. They're not really active anymore. They might be. I haven't checked on them in like 5 or 6 years, but it used to be action figure fucking therapy, where they just have like the G.I. Joe action figures like talking about fucking shit that was going on.
Yep.
And there was one dude, and his whole fucking thing was like, if I'm standing on it, it's America.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's one way of looking at things. Yeah.
Yeah. But also fucking what is it? So yeah, the Holy Roman Empire, who considered themselves the fucking
they considered themselves. I mean, they were like a combination of Germanic states, and I think they usurped the legacy of it. But I don't think they've any historical continuity to Byzantium. You know,
they don't have historical continuity, but Rome was in it, so it's like But also,
kind of. Yeah.
But also, Russia considers themselves a fucking predecessor to fucking Rome. Like,
I mean, Tsar is like Russian for Caesar. You know.
Yeah, and then the way that Caesar was actually pronounced was Kaiser.
Yeah.
So.
German. Yeah.
Like,
I think, I mean, it's really hard to kind of say. I suppose, like, I mean, I'm only going based on my own kind of like school and stuff like that, and like the end of the Roman Empire, you know, from what I was taught, was always considered when the barbarians kind of like, you know, invaded Rome and ousted the last Roman Empire. But again, I completely get that, because there is like alternative thoughts that, well, Byzantium, now what we call Byzantium, because they didn't consider themselves like was it Byzantines at the time? That's only like a more 19th century.
They would have called themselves Romans.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the Eastern kind of Roman Empire. I mean, that is considered a continuity of that type of stuff. So it really comes down to historians and how do you set those definitions? And I mean, do you really, like, you know, are you really going to say that like the empire lasted for 2,000 years when the capital itself was, you know, taken over? And I know Constantinople was considered the capital of the Eastern kind of empire, but I mean, the foundational capital itself was overrun by barbarians and Visigoths and stuff like that. So I don't know. Yeah. I'll leave it to more educated people to figure that one out for me, you know.
But in the meantime, I'm going to be an asshole on the internet about it.
Exactly, yeah. Hell yeah. What else are you going to do? Got to pass time somehow.
Yeah.
Coming up some memes.
Yeah, dude, no, like I fucking actually took a class on fucking ancient Rome. And
cool.
Yeah, no, and like in that class, fucking like, because you know, like when you take classes, like you pretty much hit the wave tops of shit, and then every once in a while you hit something that's like, dude, that's cool. Let me go research that.
Yeah.
Fucking there was this guy named Sulla. He was about
a dictator, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's about 30-40 years before Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
But like this man is my fucking all-time fucking hero, right?
Right.
Because he was born he was born of the noble class, because you had your plebes and your partisans or whatever. Yeah. But like he wasn't like high ranking on it.
Yeah.
And he worked his way up to the fucking like head of the fucking like whatever fucking army it was. And this was back in the day where like the state did not give you jurisdiction over the army. If you were to be in charge of the army, that meant you had to arm and feed that army. So you had to be rich to fucking, you know, do their shit. And he got in charge of fucking whatever. And he was like, so the political elite in Rome are destroying Rome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to march on Rome, and then I'm going to kill everybody that has more than $100,000 in their bank account. And like there was shit where like this motherfucker would like go to the fucking Senate and, you know, talk about the Senate needs to do this and the Senate needs to do that, and like we need to have these fucking policies, and the Senate would be like, why should we do that? And then it's like, well, I mean, like my troops are killing your families outside, like right now, like look outside. They look outside and like their wives and kids are getting fucking stabbed to death, and it's like, this is why you're gonna fucking make this a fucking thing. And then, you know, effectively, like if you look at it fucking like under any measure, fucking like socially, geopolitically, fucking whatever, like he stopped Rome from being fucking this decadent, like what the fuck is going on, to like this is gonna work thing. Now granted, this only lasted for a few years because other people fucked it up afterwards. And then after they voted to like make it right. He killed them too, and then like put his own cronies in charge. And then after that, he said, "I did my job. I'm done. Fucking you guys go back to democracy. I'm gonna take my army. We're gonna go up to fucking North fucking Italy, and I'm gonna get drunk and hunt until I fucking die." And then like Rome kept doing whatever the fucking Rome was gonna do, but they like stayed on the course of like doing the right thing until he died, because he was still in charge of the army, so like, they didn't want to fuck with him. Now when he died, they went back to doing fucking whatever, and then Julius Caesar fucking did his fucking shit. But like historians kind of hate Sulla because technically he was a fucking like murderous dictator, but it's like, yeah, but he was only killing the ruling class. So I'm not gonna be mad at him about that. Yeah. But the other thing they hate him about is the last 10 years of his life after he gave up power. Yeah. Well, he gave up political power. He kept the military, but like he gave up political power. Yeah. But they hated him because all he did in those last 10, 15 years was drink too much and hunt deer.
Yeah, I mean, because that's such a bad existence, you know? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, look, it's fascinating. Like I do remember kind of reading a little bit about him now. I'm certainly not an expert of it, but I do kind of remember. I think there was some sort of influence into the like young Caesar's kind of life. I don't know if he knew Sulla or if there was some.
So Sulla did this thing called his prescribance. Okay. And if you are prescribed, that meant it was illegal for you to exist, and the state wouldn't kill you.
Yeah.
But if you were some random bystander who killed someone that was on the prescribed list, you'd get like pretty much the equivalent of $1 million in an acre of land.
It's just like a bounty on your head, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. And Caesar was on that list. Yeah. Not because of anything he did, but because Caesar's dad was a politician and it's a father type fucking thing. Yeah. And then, Caesar fucking, fucked off. I think he lived in Spain.
Right.
For however many years, and then when Caesar came back, it was like 10 years after fucking Sulla died, and like he wasn't like on the fuck you list anymore.
Yeah, that's mad. Yeah, Dude, I mean, I'm sure that's gonna fucking play in your head a little bit, and that probably explains some of the stuff that Caesar did in the end.
Yeah, well, dude, no, and Caesar too. Like he's a very fucking interesting character because like he never killed anyone out of spite, because like while he was like kind of in charge, because like you can't really say in charge because like in Rome back then it would be kind of like having 2 presidents and like 5 prime ministers and like 17 houses in parliament and 5 houses in Congress type fucking shit,
real checks and balances.
No dude, like hardcore, and they would kill you if you fucked up. But Caesar's dad was on the fuck you list, and the fuck you list extended to your extended family. So fucking, if you're on the fuck you list, your 3rd cousin gets killed too, type fucking thing. And it's like one of those things like, yeah, that's probably wrong, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, it's the autocrats, so. But Caesar fucking ended up getting out of that because Sulla died, and the Senate was like, hey, let's nix these fucking lists, because if we keep them up, then we all get killed too. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah, Caesar was a fucking weird dude too, because like he would do shit where like while he was like in charge, and like I said earlier, fucking in charge is kind of a weird fucking
just different system.
But while he was in charge for that, they had a bunch of fucking civil wars, and he would do shit to where like he would go defeat the other fucking army that they were fighting against. That was, also fucking Roman army. And he would kill the general and the other guy in charge. But like everyone else, he would just like give amnesty to. He's like, oh, well, you're just following orders.
Yeah.
We're going to kill the guy that gave you the orders, but y'all are good. And then that would grow Caesar's fucking influence in army, because
of course it's a fantastic propaganda move.
Because like once again, the army wasn't funded by the state, the army was funded by the guy who was paying you. It's like, listen, I killed your general, you can fight for me or you can be exiled. And they'd be like, well, so what happens if we fight for you? It's like, if you fight for me, I'll give you an acre of land and $1 million. And they're like, Hail Caesar, motherfucker.
Okay, yeah. Where do we sign?
Yeah, no, dude, and like fucking even Pompey, another dude who at the time, like fucking, they were allies at one point, and they fucking like got into a civil war against each other. But like, imagine Pompey and Caesar were both president at the same time.
Yeah, that would have been. It was them, and was it Mark Antony, or was that after?
Before.
Yeah.
It was before. Right. But like when he fought Pompey's army, fucking after Pompey got killed, fucking he told Pompey's army, he's like, hey, listen, fucking, if you guys want to fight for me, I'll give you money. If you don't want to fight for me and you just want to fuck off, you can just go fuck off.
Yeah.
If you want to fight me afterwards, yeah, I'm gonna kill you then. But like, the only thing you have to do to like not die is not try to kill me.
Look, fair deal. And at the end of the day, like kind of like that, the ability to demoralize the enemy, like that's half the battle right there. Like, so if you can give them an out that says, well, look, you can either like fight for me and I'll give you money, or you can just fuck off somewhere else. Happy days, you know?
Well, the other thing with that too, though, is like Caesar was also extraordinarily fucking rich. One of the things he would do that got the public support behind him was he went on the fucking platform of, I don't care if you're not fighting for me, as long as you're not fighting against me, I will guarantee that you don't starve to death. And this is you know, fucking 2,000 fucking years ago. So it's like, as long as you're not fighting me, you're inside of Rome, I'm gonna give you bread. Yeah. So like, he was extremely fucking popular.
Shrewd kind of political kind of moves right there, you know.
Yeah,
you can even see it. Like, I mean, that's why I think, you know, modern day politicians of the last couple of centuries continue to look back to the Greek states and to Rome for inspiration, because I mean, they had skills, or they had like an understanding way before there was like social media and analytics and kind of like focus groups. They knew how to win over people, and it always comes down to the most basic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And it's how you can, your ability to kind of communicate, you know, what you want people to hear that aligns with your own goals, like, is half the battle right there, you know.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, no, that is. However, I would say though that that's not an expired fucking ideology, because Hitler got elected off the platform of no one goes cold, no one gets hungry.
Yeah, so many other kind of politicians utilize that stuff, you know, and it's you know, it's, the lessons are there to be learned by like virtually anybody, you know. And I think people who have that shrewd kind of political kind of cunning look back on stuff like that. Like, you look at the likes of Machiavelli. I mean, his work, The Prince, I think it's a fantastic kind of read, even now, several hundred years later. Before, like, I mean, he wrote that before there was even like in Italy, and the lessons that like he
it was like Venice,
right? That.
Like they were at war with the Kingdom of Italy. Like, it was like Venice or fucking
there was all these different factions. You had the Papal States, and you had like fucking I can't even remember the different Italian states, but for so many of them and stuff like that. But I mean, I think the opening preface of The Prince was, he was reaching out to, I can't think of the whatever particular power player was at the moment at that time, but he was basically saying, look, if you use this kind of information, this can help you be the one. Was it the banner? Was it Savoy or something? Maybe the House of Savoy. Could be wrong. I don't know. But he reached out and said, "Look, here's this manuscript. You read this. You implement this stuff as a ruler, and this is how you can unify Italy." You know. But those lessons are still being kind of poured over and examined and utilized by successful politicians and kind of leaders. You know, the whole like, I mean, some of his mantras are just like infamous and stuff. You know, like, it's better to be like feared and loved of one, can it be both? I mean, that's spine chilling in its, you know.
I will say though that the difference between like modern politicians and like people like we're talking about is people back in the day also backed it up, as to where now it's like, vote for me and we're going to do this, and you vote for them, and then they don't do the thing you fucking voted them into fucking office.
But I mean, if you take that and kind of spin it on its head, it's probably because they understand that they can make all the promises in the world, knowing deep down that, you know, they're not going to follow through on it. But because they have a catchy slogan, or they're going to offer you some small piecemeal kind of gesture or something like that, so it's never going to be like the bigger agenda, you know. Like, say, like the Trumpian kind of quote, like the make America great again.
Which, by the way, he stole that from Reagan. That was
Reagan, exactly. He took that from Reagan. But I mean, I remember the first time I heard that, and like being a non-American, you know, and looking at things from an Irish perspective, the first time I heard that, I was like, when has America not been great?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the same time,
dominant military and economic, cultural power on the planet. it's reached the zenith of like human civilization in terms of political power and sway.
Yeah.
How is it not great? You know, that's why I never quite understood that. And I mean, again, I'm not American, so
I have a thought experiment for you. If there was
Sure.
a guy running for, like, you guys have a prime minister, right?
Taoiseach. So
Okay,
it's the equivalent of a prime minister, but we call him
if
Taoiseach.
you had a guy running for that and his thing was like make Ireland great again, like, what would you think of that?
I'd be like, this is a fucking great country. Why are you insulting us by saying it's like not a fucking great country? Like,
well, I mean,
who the fuck are you? I'm gonna, you know, I'm going to vote for the other guy now. Go fuck yourself. This is a fantastic country. Tell me why it's not a great country. You know, that'd be my reaction. You know,
that's
list it off. Like, what have we not done right? And I mean, I suppose if he came out with a great list and said, right, I mean, I've mentioned to you already. I think there's a lot of things that, you know, we can do better. And I think the way we treat our defense forces is horrific. You know, it's under budgeted, understaffed. We have like 8,500 Irish soldiers to defend this entire nation. We've like 4.5 of them on top of that reservists. So you've got like 13,000 soldiers to defend a nation of 5.1 million. We rely on the Royal Air Force, the British Royal Air Force, for our air security. We have a navy that's like completely, you know, can't even send its entire fleet out to support and defend our kind of our maritime borders because we don't have enough people to staff them. I mean, yeah, there's things right there that I could call out, you know. But if someone came in and said, "Make Ireland great again," I'd be like, we fucking try our best. Like, what are you going to do to make it better? You know, I challenge that to put it into like policies, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I will say that, like, in America, when he was doing that fucking we were like, Obama fucked this shit up bad.
Yeah.
Before Obama, Bush fucked this shit up bad. And before that, Clinton fucked this shit up bad. And like, we were on this fucking thing where it was like everything's just going downhill. And some especially like one of the big things, which I think fucking Trump got elected off of was like we sent all of our fucking like manufacturing shit to fucking China and Mexico. All that
was NAFTA or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now most of our steel comes from fucking China. And
yeah, that's insane. Like, isn't there a huge kind of steel production over in America or something?
Not anymore. But
and because of NAFTA.
One of the things Trump did when he was getting elected was he went to fucking Dodge and fucking, you know, Chrysler, Ford, Chevy, and all them, and he was like, "Hey, listen, fucking, when I get elected, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you're going to start building cars in America again, or you're going to go out of business."
Yeah, I can see, I can understand it, but I mean, like, and I suppose this is the split between, like, I suppose emotionalism and kind of realism and stuff like that, right? I mean, first off, right, I grasp the power of a message like that to people who kind of feel that, you know, over the last couple of presidencies, things have been going shit. Like, you know, I think it's shocking from an outsider's perspective that Americans feel that they're not the greatest superpower on the world when everybody else kind of does, kind of, you know.
People look at it like, people look at it like they used to work at a steel mill, right? They used to have a fucking good union job doing something with their hands that fucking benefited their fucking family, and that fucking job got sent to fucking China.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
and we got some dude saying, we're going to bring that job back here. Now, did he do it? No. But you can get elected off fucking rhetoric.
True. I mean, and look, I certainly get it. Like, it's a separation of emotionalism from fact. I mean, I suppose that is capitalism, though, isn't it? You know,
fucking emotionalism. Like, fucking one of the fucking hardest fucking things for people to grasp, and this is fucking cross fucking platform. Is people judge things off of their intent other than their result. And if you have any intent and you have one guy saying we're going to bring the jobs back from fucking China, it's like the other guy's saying the jobs are going to stay in China. The other guys want to give me a job back, so I don't have to work at fucking Walmart anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did that happen? No. But I mean, like, the fucking rhetoric fucking sold it, you know?
Yeah. Look, and I can totally understand how, you know, it could be a selling point, you know? I suppose, it's like, see, it's tricky because it's like, how do you navigate kind of like your own personal feelings to a situation and how they kind of impact you, and then how you project them onto your national psyche, you know? So, I mean, you take the steel kind of jobs type of scenario. Like, I mean, if I were someone like you was kind of, you know, maybe my father or my grandfather had worked in the steel kind of industry, and then all of a sudden there's no jobs due to NAFTA. Yeah, I'd be fucking pissed off, you know. But at the same time, like, I mean, that's capitalism, and that's the free market kind of capitalism, and that's the society that we live in. So, you know, I suppose on the logical thing, I do kind of struggle with it a little bit, but I completely get the understanding of, like, when it comes down to the individual, how it can impact your community. And if you have someone who kind of comes to you and says, well, you know, I mean, look at you, you're the first person out of like 3 generations of people who can't work in steel, and that's because like Bill Clinton signed NAFTA or whatever, you know, I'm going to change that. Yeah, it's totally appealing. I totally get it, you know. But again, I think it's the wording that just always got me, is like, do Americans really think that you're not in the essentially the greatest country in the world? You know,
there's a lot of people there's a lot of people that voted for Trump the first time and then voted for Biden the second time because they were like, Trump told us we're going to do this, and then he didn't do it. So they're like, okay, well, fuck you. You said you're not. You said you're going to do it, and you didn't fucking do it. Fuck you. You know?
Yeah, and it was crazy. I mean, everyone I think was anticipating like a second win on that. You know, even despite all the chaos and anarchy kind of around those last couple of days. You know, but yeah, that was crazy. I don't think any of us outside of America expected Biden to win. You know, so it's
not a lot of us expected it either. But it's like
it's
and then like with me, fucking like in my I guess demographic, because like we have this 2-party system fucking here, and like since I've been an adult, I've voted fucking third party. Like, I know they're not gonna win, but like, do you do the right thing, or do you do the thing that
vote your conscience? Yeah, vote your conscience, as long as you're vote.
Well, what I'm trying to tell you to is, do you do the thing that like you are going to win if you do this, or do you do the thing that you think is right, even if you're going to lose?
I think it's the right thing, you know. And again, like from an Irish perspective, like you look at our 1916 Rising, that was like a couple of hundred like IRA soldiers kind of like, you know, waging war in Dublin, knowing that they were going to be crushed by the British at some point. There was no hope of any type of victory in the long term. The British were going to come in and fuck shit up, like, basically. So I mean, I tie into that. You do what's right for you, like, regardless. You have to stay true to your own kind of ethics and your morality and stuff like that. So you vote third party if that's what your conscience is telling you. Do it, as long as you vote and you're adding your voice to democracy, you know.
I mean, there's a fourth option, but I don't want to go to prison. I don't want Jack Ruby to show up and shoot me.
No, I get it. Yeah, it's definitely frustrating time. So we can understand how, you know, you can kind of like be frustrated at stuff, and I get it.
Yeah. But
anyway,
fucking it is what it is.
Yeah,
that's all what it is.
Clusterfuck, you know.
Yeah,
happens, you know. I don't know what the American kind of version or the American kind of terminology of it is like, but we had this thing we called the magic roundabout. That when we went to kind of barracks, say we're off on training or whatever, like we used to go down to like one of our main kind of training camps was the Glen of Amal, but you'd have like, say, you know, everyone kind of pouring off the trucks, and then they'd like, you know, line you all up, and you've like rows upon rows and rows of billets, and it was like they'd kind of like say, okay, well, A company's going over here, B company's going to this billet, C company's going to this billets or whatever, right? You take all your gear off, you walk into the first kind of billets, and then into the second one, and then the third one, and you'd drop your gear down on the bed, and you'd stand there, and then an NCO would walk in and say, everybody out, and you come back out onto the kind of main street, and then they send you to another billets, you know, and this repeated for like maybe an hour until you eventually ended up back in the first billets, you know. So there was no kind of organization. Something as simple as like, where are you going to sleep, you know?
Yeah,
but
people can't even figure that fuck out.
Yeah.
Which it's one of the things where, like, can you actually not figure this out, or are you just fucking with us so that we get like more mentally?
Yeah, like maybe there is that concept of fucking with us, but I did get the sense that it was real kind of like, we haven't really thought about like where they're going to sleep, even though there's all these different rows, and there's probably more beds and more kind of like billets and stuff like than there are kind of soldiers there ready to sleep. It's just they wanted to work out some weird system or something like that, but it took 3 or 4 attempts to find a bed.
Figured
there's loaded beds.
Yeah.
So,
and like I don't know about you guys, but like they would do shit that to us just to piss us off. but it built it towards that thing where it's like, hey, when we like actually put you into combat, you're gonna be so fucking mad, you're not gonna give a fuck what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, and they do tend to do stuff like that just to fuck with you, like So I hated being a recruit. Like I fucking hated it. It was the worst year of my life.
Everyone hated being a recruit. Yeah. I don't care what fucking country you're from.
It gradually kind of got better after that, like as a 2-star and a 3-star and stuff like that. But yeah, that first year.
So what do you mean by 2-star and 3-star? I'm not familiar with the Irish fucking.
Oh yeah, so we start off. It's recruit is recruit. You're basically shiffer brains, sandbagger scum, bootlicker, fuckface. All that stuff, and then it's 2-star, and then 3-star, which is fully trained private. So 3-star, they refer to us as trained men, even though there was women there. If you were once you hit 3-star, you were the shit. Like it's like you had not like a shitload of respect, but you had grudging respect.
So you're effectively a private, but like you're at the top of the fucking private.
You're the highest trained private. You can get away with essentially murder, to a degree. You get away with a lot more. No one kind of fucks with you. The corporals they'll tell you to do something, but there's no like you're a dickhead or fuck you or any of this shit. It's like, look, you're trained men, you know what to do, go for it, So but recruiting 2-star is horrible.
Underground.
Yeah. Look,
or the Lance Criminal, as we called it.
I've heard we don't have Lance Corporals over here in Ireland. I think they have them in USA and the UK and stuff like. But to us, it's like 3-star private, and then next rank is corporal. Now you might have a 2IC or an orderly sergeant or something like that. It could be a private to kind of do day-to-day kind of ad hoc stuff. But there's no rank between them. But and that's actually one of those things I've mean to say to you. That was something kind of stuck out with me in reading the Smokepit kind of fairy tale stories. Is there's a lot of interactions between like enlisted, like private soldiers and corporals, and the way they're kind of talking to each other, and that doesn't exist in like my experience. Like having an enlisted soldier talk back to a corporal is just like, what the fuck? It doesn't matter how fucking trained you are, but like there was a lot of kind of like familiarity, I think it was. Between the ranks that I don't have a basis for comparison there, so that's really intriguing. Like from your experience in your training, could it like what's the highest trained private in US military? Is what would you call it? What's the next one down?
So you'd have private first class, lance corporal, and they're all just like your non-rates, and then you were corporal, sergeant, and they're your NCOs, and then you'd have staff sergeant and gunnery sergeant. And they're your like staff NCOs, so they're not officers, but they're effectively officers. And then after that, you the Marine Corps has a weird thing that the other branches don't do. Right, it splits from there, and then like you would have your either master sergeant or first sergeant.
Okay,
and then master gunnery sergeant or sergeant major.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shit in fucking Smokepit fairy tales that went along with that fucking like shit where it's like in real life that would at the very least get you into a fist fight.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I did wonder about that, like, because you had like say for example, right, you've got like your private first class, okay, lipping off to a corporal in your stories now. I can't stuff like
in
that.
Real life that would get you punched in the face, fucking And
okay,
that's without the legal fucking action,
Yeah, no, that's cool. No, I wasn't even sure if that was creative license.
Like when
that exists.
When they were at the ball where like Hank was fucking mouthing off to the fucking gunnery sergeant, like that's in real life that's not cool. But at the same time, there is, I don't know if it is there anymore because I've been out for a while.
Yeah,
but like when I was in fucking there was this thing where like it wasn't cool and you can still get burned for it like legally. Yeah. But like say I'm a fucking like lance corporal, fucking like senior private or whatever, and my sergeant says some shit, but I've been to combat and the sergeant hasn't. Right, there's a different level of like I'm still gonna get burned for it, but like if we get into a fist fight, I'm gonna win the fist fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So short-term victories.
Yeah, no, look at that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I found it intriguing. Like, because again, I just don't have like any type of a situation where I've seen anybody lip off to a corporal or a sergeant and survive. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, look, that's not to say
Yeah.
that I haven't seen some messy type of stuff like.
Well, no, because there's totally that where if it's like, but there was when I was in, there was a divide on that. Like if, and we're gonna put this into two different categories: Lance Corporal, Marathon Sergeant. Neither of y'all been into combat. Lance Corporal, Marathon Sergeant. Both y'all been into combat. They're gonna be completely different stories on how that works. But Lance Corporal, who has been to combat, mouse off to Sergeant who has not. The legal repercussions are going to be bad on the Lance Corporal, but he's still going to have teeth.
Yeah.
And by that,
that makes sense.
He's going to punch that fucking sergeant in the fucking face.
Yeah.
And knock his goddamn teeth out. And he's going to lose rank over that.
Yeah.
But if somebody's being a fucking asshole who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, who is potentially going to do something that's going to get people fucking killed in combat.
Yeah, look, excuse me. Yeah, I suppose like that's the one thing. I suppose like if you have like someone of junior ranks who has that combat experience, that's like different story. So yeah, I suppose even just saying that is kind of really kind of, I suppose, sheds a bit more light into it, you know.
Yeah, like on my first deployment, one of the fucking squad leaders was a private, and he used to be a sergeant. He did some shit, got fucking knocked down, but he was a really good fucking sergeant. So they were like, "We're gonna keep you as the squad leader, but we're gonna take all your fucking like rank and privileges away because like you fucked up."
Yeah.
But you still have to fucking run this squad. So it was like, fucking,
okay,
you know, we're fucking like Lance Corporals and fucking Corporals and shit. It's like, okay, private, got it. You know.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Which doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Yeah, I'd say that's got a fucking sting as a punishment there. Like, I mean, busted back down to effectively to a private. Like, so you're basically still doing all the duties that you had, but you don't have the rank or privilege to kind of it's got to be effective though.
Yeah, but if somebody knows what they're fucking doing as far as it goes to surviving in combat,
look, no, absolutely, and I suppose that sheds a lot of light on kind of what I read, because it was like that can't be, I suppose, part of the wider military. How would that work, like type of stuff? And again, it just goes down to like, I've never seen it before. I've never seen anyone lip off to a corporal or a sergeant or anybody and survive. Like my single worst memory in 7 years in the Reserve Defence Forces is being bollocked by my sergeant major. That's like, it was horrible. It was like me and a bunch of lads. We got drunk after some training exercise. We're on camp. There was a bunch of dump trucks. We had cans, you know, and I saw a dump truck, and I was like, "Hey, wouldn't it be fantastic if we, you know, climbed to the back of the dump truck and had cans?" It was just the novelty factor was spur of the moment. It was like, this would be mad. Like, and we all climbed into the back of it. It was completely empty, and we're kind of like had like our bag of cans, and we were kind of like drinking cans and stuff like that. And it's great crack, like, you know, laughing our heads off and stuff like that. And a couple of people were kind of walking along the perimeter, like lads we kind of knew, and they kind of stopped over and they're like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" So we're kind of like having this mini party, but then like the perimeter patrol walked past, so it was like an officer, like a sergeant, like three or two corporals and a couple of privates were like, "What are you doing standing beside a dump truck?" And they kind of like, the lads were like trying to deflect, and they were like, "Oh, we're just walking and all this, you know, it's okay, sir, you know, we're just doing all this," and you know, and then someone kind of turned the flashlight in, and it was like me and like 5 or 6 people kind of there with cans, just like, and it was horrific. Like, it just like lieutenant dragging us out of this dump truck, lining us up against the wall, screaming at us. We're all hammered, and then like it was something like 4 or 5 in the morning. The entire fucking company is like called out, and we're force marched, and we're just marched around the parade square for like hours on end, and we're all shit faced. And then the sergeant major, like, you know, calls us 5 or 6 people out, lines us up against the wall, and just screams. Like, and it could have only been like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but it felt like several hours. And the worst thing about being like getting that from a sergeant major is he ended the entire conversation with, "I'm not even mad that you did it. I'm mad that you got caught." And that cuts. It's just like, oh, I used to
tell that to my Marines fucking on the fucking weekend, where it's like, "Hey, it's Friday night. We're gonna go out and do fucking whatever." Here's my thing. I don't care what the fuck you do.
Yeah.
Have fun. Do whatever. However, if you get caught, it's my job to fuck you up about this.
Yeah.
So if you don't get caught, I'm not going to fuck you up. However, if you do get caught, I'm gonna fuck you up something fucking fierce because I like my job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has to be done. It has to be done. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's the worst weapon I think an NCO can use against like someone enlisted is disappointment. You know, and especially if they're like a fucking your sergeant major who you like, okay, dude, you know, we're not best friends or anything like that, but like as like sergeant majors go,
You
like,
still
he was
respect
fucking
the guy
savage.
because of what he's done.
Because he's moved up through the ranks and he's like fucking highly respected. And for him to say that you're disappointed, that's worse than like 100 hours of like fucking marching and like an officer giving out to you or bollocking you or whatever. Like it's like horrible.
So I don't know what the inner service fucking I guess banter or fucking competitiveness is in the fucking fucking armed forces. Yeah. But I made one of my corporals cry one time. I don't even remember what the fuck he did. But I do remember while I was fucking chewing his ass, fucking he like kind of like tried to like buck up, and I was like, "You fucking bitch! You should have joined the fucking army if that's what you fucking think." And he cried. He fucking cried. He's like, "My sergeant just told me I should join the army instead of." Oh my god, no.
Yeah, we would have had stuff like that. Yeah, like it's that. I suppose like we're very competitive against each other, so it starts off like a section based kind of stuff. Right? You know, if you're one section, you're competitive against everyone else in the platoon, and then it's platoon level, so you're competitive against everyone else in the company, and then we're the best company against everyone else in the battalion and stuff like that. So it does echo. But yeah, I mean, there would have been derogatory remarks about like, why don't you join the fucking Navy or join the Air Force and stuff like that? Like, you're shitballs, like, yo, fuck you, that type of stuff. Yeah. Plenty of times.
Actually, on that, can you elaborate on that for like 45 seconds while I go fucking drain the lizard?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Right. Talk about the inner fucking the Irish inner.
Yeah. So I mean, look, yeah, absolutely.
Competitiveness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I suppose you get it in all fucking systems, like where there's always like the creation of like an external. I don't want to say enemy, but you want to be better than somebody. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's it is. I suppose to a degree it's institutionalized a little bit, but I think it's done in a healthy way. You know, and there was certainly never any kind of derogatory or seriously derogatory marks. But like, I mean, there was times similar to what Tripp said, where people were like, "Why don't you just fucking be in the Navy or the Air Force or something like that?" You know, the whole point was like, you're infantry, you have to be the best, and have to be the best at all times. So, but it was never kind of like, you know, serious in the sense that we ever kind of had serious issues with people in other branches or anything like that. It's just, I suppose, banter, heat of the moment type of scenarios. Excuse me. But yeah. So I mean, you get that in every kind of military, I'm sure. Like, you know, where infantry or like fucking army think they're better than like Navy thinks they're better than Air Force thinks they're better than Space Force. You know, Space Force, I assume they're like the top dogs of the American military, you know, because
they're totally the fucking they're the razor sharp edge of the tip of the spear. That's the Space Force. Like you were a mortarman, right?
Sorry,
you were a mortarman, right?
Yeah. So we had this thing called the reorg, where when I originally enlisted, we were called the FCA. So there's like a bunch of Irish words there, but we'll skip that. And that moved into the Reserve Defence Forces, so which was split between the Permanent Defence Force. So they were the full timers, and we were reservists. But yeah, so we got moved into a weapon specialist kind of platoon within the company, and I loved all that stuff. So I trained on the 60 vector kind of mortar, also the 84mm anti-tank gun, which they were my kind of.
Is that a recoilless rifle or?
Yeah, it was like an anti-tank weapon. So it was kind of it looked like a bazooka, because I'd never heard of it before. But look, in the World War II films, like, you know, the bazookas, you put it up your shoulder, stuff like that, you know.
Just because like those are two different jobs that we have, like they're not the same.
Yeah, you know, again, it was more for like multi-skilling, because we were all about trying to get upskilled as many weapons. Yeah, exactly. Like we were the 20th Infantry Battalion, and then like I suppose in the middle of the reorg became the 62nd Infantry Battalion. Then, because they're trying to integrate us into the PDF more. So we were given the choice of different kind of weapons courses. So I think it was like different sections were said, where okay, what do you want to do? The .5? Do you want to do the 84? And I love the concept of the mortar. So I was like, yeah, look, you sign me for mortar training, no problem. And I fucking loved it. Just the like, still to this day, one of my favorite memories of military service is watching like an Irish mountain explode in fire and flames from mortars that I've dropped into it, and just watching it like for hours and hours and end as we practice hurling these mortars at this and like learning and kind of honing the craft. You're like, I'm doing that. I'm exploding like flames and fire like a couple of kilometers away. Like, that's so cool. I'm getting paid to do this. Like, badass.
Yeah, no, so like mortars are a weird thing too, because like it's not a cannon, but like it's functionally a cannon.
Essentially, yeah, and it's like, I mean, it gives you like the indirect ability to kind of like wage fucking fire on top of the people. You don't have to see your enemy to like drop a fucking bomb on top of them. You can drop a bomb from the other side of a mountain to the far side of it, without ever actually seeing them, and it's just so cool. I loved it. Yeah. And I used to love all the drills and stuff like that, even like just training how to like you rapid fire like mortars into it, like so you're constantly fucking adjusting the air bubble yoke for, I don't know what it's called now, but
fire for effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just fucking welling these like bomb after a fucking bomb on top of like this mountain. I was like, oh shit.
Like, your mission for the next fucking 3 to 5 minutes is to make the enemy regret existing in the first place.
Yeah. And it was like, yeah, it's like, I mean, you look at it, it's like, I think the 60 vector was like a kill radius of like 50 meters, injury radius of like 250 meters. Like, so, I mean, there's going to be a variation where those bombs are going to fucking fall. Like, but I mean, that's spread out over fairly good kind of beaten path. Like, it's, crazy, But it's again, like I said, it's the memories of like seeing that fucking mountain burn. And you're like, shit. I'm getting taxpayer money for this. I do this for fucking free.
I'm getting paid to do this right now? Yeah. All right. Yeah. And that's a weird conundrum too, because like you're doing some fucking cool shit. You fucking love your job. You're like, I'm getting paid to do this. Fuck yeah. And then like fucking like 3 days later, some like 24-year-old dude is fucking like reaming your ass because like you left a piece of trash in your trash can. And you're like, I'm an adult.
And see, again, it's I suppose we didn't get paid a lot of times because we were reservists, so we only got paid if we did courses or kind of went on camp or kind of did different stuff like that. So for day-to-day stuff, like if I had to show up to barracks a couple of times a week, that's all unpaid, or if I had to go down to like the range, you had to go there like at least kind of like once a month or whatever. Again, that's unpaid. You got a gratuity at the end of the year, which was like a couple of euros, but it's not much, but for courses like weapons course or something like that, or to go on your kind of camp or whatever like that, you got like pretty much like better than the average kind of industrial wage, but without government tax. And then on top of, I mean, we had to use our kind of annual leave, our holiday leave basically. So which is on average about 4 weeks here in Ireland. You get 4 weeks off. So which is pretty sweet, but I'd have to use that to go off on military service. So I used to spend like, I got 4 weeks. I'd spend all 4 weeks with, the army, and then go back into my civilian job, so I spent a period of like 7 years where I never had a foreign holiday or, had time off work essentially, which is cool. I still love it.
Like that's one of the things that always fucking bothered the fuck out of me. Cause like, we while I was in the military, fucking like we still got taxed like we weren't in the military, and it's like, where do I get my paycheck from? The government's paying me this fucking paycheck. Okay.
Wait, you get taxed?
Oh yeah.
Fuck off, seriously?
Yeah.
Shit.
So it's like you get your fucking like pay and leave fucking like Ermin or wherever, and it's like, all right, so so you got $3,000 this month. Here's your fucking
shit.
Here's your fucking $1,000, and it's like, didn't we fight a war against the fucking English Empire for a 2% tax?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're doing that. Okay, all right, cool, got it.
I mean, I suppose the next burning question that I have to ask is like, were your points tax free? Like, I mean, we had a pub on barracks, and there was no tax on that. Like, so for context, if you went into Dublin at the time and you were looking to buy a pint of Guinness, cost you about like maybe, I don't know, €4.
Yeah.
But it was like it was
absolutely,
€2 in the mess, you know.
Yeah, no, fucking like we get taxed no matter whatever the fuck we do.
So you don't get tax-free points. That's
no, we get taxed on our paycheck, and then we get taxed on spending the money on buying shit. And it's a big fucking frustration where it's like, what? A, why are we getting taxed on both of these? But like, B, especially when I was in the military, it's like the people I'm paying taxes to are also giving me my paycheck.
That's a mindfuck. I have to be straight. That's a mindfuck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're gonna like fucking like train up people to go off to like different countries and defend your country and stuff,
and it's like, dude, fucking
watch training like
over this shit, you know.
Take €1 or $2 or $1 or $2 off like the price of beer.
Yeah. No, there is shit where like an individual company might give like a military discount, but like that's up to the company to do. It's not like a actual.
Yeah.
So.
Still, yeah, that's fucking bollocks, man. Bollocks. Yeah.
But you know, what the fuck are you gonna do about it, right?
I suppose, yeah. What can you do? Yeah, you can give it till the cows come home.
It's similar to my fucking thoughts on what's going on in Afghanistan. I'm not mad enough about it to be a fucking mercenary and fix the problem myself.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not mad about it. You know what I mean?
But you're allowed to be mad about it, you know? I mean, it's completely understandable. It's like any type of situation. I think one of the things that sticks out in my head about it is that you've mentioned the reference to like breaking up with a girlfriend and like, or you know, she's cheating on you or whatever, and that type of scenario, you know? It is essentially boils down to a similar situation like that, where you've been asked to invest a certain segment of your life in terms of training and deployment, based on a set of goals and based on your kind of training, and you're essentially having to be forced to watch it burn down in front of you, whether that's on the TV or on social media or, you know, just in general conversation with people. So fucking yeah, of course it's going to play in you. So you're entitled to feel all those things, you know?
Yeah.
It's a fucking horrible, messy situation. It really is.
And such is fucking life, but
yeah,
we'll do the
yeah.
Also, fucking that's something I didn't write it down, but that's something I did want to talk about. Fucking as far as language goes, with the fucking vernacular, like you know, you guys say fucking, you know, cheers, mate, and we'll say like, yeah, thanks, dude, and then like that guy from the Arab market will say, oh yes, my friend. And it's like, is that a thing across all fucking languages where like at the ass end of a sentence you establish that we're cool? Like
yeah,
mate, yeah, my friend.
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, even you look at it, like South America and stuff like that. Like that's where Che Guevara got his name, because he was Argentine, and like, I think the Argentinians have a habit of like referring to everybody as Che, which means friend or whatever, because he was hanging out with a bunch of Cubans, and he used to always like just happen to say Che in the same way that I would say Bud, you know, or like, you know, something. Like, I tend to use Bud or man like a lot. You know?
My friends, but I'll call you mate.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think there's always that kind of like, you know, softening, or it's a colloquial. I can't pronounce that word. Whatever. Yeah, that's just. I've just showed everybody's watching the show now. I can't pronounce that word. I'm 35 years old. I've never been able to. I get what I'm trying to say when I'm trying to say it, but I can't. Sure. But anyway, I think every culture has that kind of thing where you kind of want to soften the blow of something that you don't want to give anyone any type of open interpretation. There's just hostility there, so you use it like a word to kind of like deflect, you know. So yeah, I think that's culturally, I'd say you'll probably find that across the vast majority of people, you know. So I was like, hey, dude, man, buddy,
bro,
Che,
mate,
you know, bro, broseph, bro, amigo, that type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So we've touched on Afghanistan and linguistics now.
Yeah, it fucking tends to fucking do that. Fucking yeah, dude. No, like one of the things that like really fucked me up, like I'm gonna get a little heavy on you, right?
Sure, fire away.
So I had somebody fucking text me the other fucking night, last night before, fucking anyway, fucking she, I actually don't really know too much about her fucking background.
Yeah.
I met her at a wedding and just like, fucking added her on fucking Instagram, and she was friends with somebody that got fucking killed in Afghanistan in that fucking blast, and it was one of those things where like she texted me like fucking 1:00 in the fucking morning, and I didn't ask. I just kind of like was just trying to be fucking there for her and shit,
Yeah.
But like I can only imagine that like fucking I'm the only person that she knows that like knows somebody that's dead and can empathize.
Yeah, you got it.
Words mean things. Fucking empathize. Fucking what's going on, and like I was texting her for an hour or two about this fucking bullshit or whatever. But like one of the Marines that got fucking killed. The last thing she fucking posted on fucking Instagram, not the person I was talking to, but like her friend that killed her. It was a picture of her holding this fucking like Afghan baby, because I don't know if you've seen the fucking pictures that coming out of it, but it's like fucking that kind of shit where it's like Dunkirk type fucking shit, and it's a picture of this fucking woman and she's holding this fucking Afghan baby, and like her Instagram caption was "I love my job," and that was the last thing. Dude, and then fucking to kind of segue into fucking something else, fucking to go on about how fucking like just how pissed off Americans are at fucking each other right now, and like this is something that I'm 100% fucking like irate about, and if I could find the guy who wrote this, I'd fucking stab him in the fucking neck. And also fucking whoever's watching this right now, that's a direct threat to fucking whoever fucking wrote that shit. Stay away from me. What was it? Like fucking however many Americans got fucking blown up in that fucking blast. Fucking 10 of them were fucking 11 of them were fucking Marines. 6 hours after that, Vice News fucking has this fucking article that comes out. It's like, why are so many United States Marines ending up becoming Nazis? And it's like, over the last fucking month, the only thing you get out of fucking Marine shit is saving, like, Afghan fucking women are throwing their babies over barbed wire in hopes that someone catches their fucking baby and takes them out of the fucking country. And you're calling us fucking Nazis?
There's no need for that. Yeah.
Don't let me meet you.
Yeah. Look, understandable. That's an understandable reaction. Yeah. Jesus. That's a fucking terrible thing to say against the backdrop. And I'd say that's probably one of those clickbait things where whoever did that is trying to, I suppose, stir up the emotions around the situation just to get more clicks, just to get more kind of like views on their fucking bullshit kind of post. That's a horrible thing to say, to equate.
Yeah, like it's like one of those, it's like, listen, you fucking piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucking pussy fucking bitch motherfucker with your fucking like, I went to this college and I got a degree in journalism, so I'm a journalist and I can write about this. Like, yeah, do you want fucking show me what your fucking journalism means when you fucking I meet you and stab you in the fucking neck, you fucking piece of fucking shit. You do not fucking say that shit about United States fucking Marines.
Yeah.
Like, you can say what the fuck you want about fucking like American imperialism or whatever, but that's a fucking state thing. You don't say that about people who fucking wear a goddamn eagle of an anchor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's horrific. That's horrible. It doesn't matter what I think, what your opinions are on the political side of stuff like that, but it always comes down to the men and women, the people who are actually there on the ground, who are doing this stuff, for a job, to advance their career, or because they genuinely believe in what they're doing, kind of stuff. Like it's a low ball maneuver to have a go with the dead, or to have a go with people who are on the ground just trying to like do the best that they can do. I mean, you look at the Marine Corps, they can't affect a policy because the military does not dictate to the political kind of government side of stuff. Like they're instruments effectively of the government. They follow orders, they do what they need to do. Like Marines aren't kind of lining up to say, hey, I want to go to Afghanistan, just for the fuck of it. They're following a government directive, passed down by the commander-in-chief to do their national duty. So that's terrible.
No, and the other thing is, like, some people are trying to defend them. Like, well, they probably wrote this article before today and just released it today. And it's like, yeah, listen, fucking this article got released fucking 8 hours after that. Yeah. You know what the fuck you were doing?
Yeah.
You know exactly what the fuck you were doing.
Clickbait. You know, that's essentially. I mean, the flip side is like you know, in democracy, you have the freedom to kind of like to speak and say stuff. Like, I mean, that is like the society we live in. But it's like, why would you choose to do something like that now? When this information is coming out, it's insensitive and it's not cool. And to use that terminology to equate American kind of like Marines or like soldiers or in military as Nazis, like that's there's very strong connotations there. Like, you know, like a Nazi is like completely different breed of, like, I don't even want to call them people. Like, they're like horrible genocidal maniacs. Like, and I mean, Marines are tough, kind of like what they do and stuff like that. But Marines don't set up concentration camps. You know, they don't eradicate Jews based on bullshit. Like,
and that's another fucking thing with that too, because like there's this whole fucking like political fucking battle about that shit, and it's like fucking like, I'm not a Nazi, but if you keep calling me a Nazi, I might end up one just to fucking shut you up, and that's not what you fucking want. And it's not what I want. But if you keep calling me a fucking Nazi, I might be one to fucking end your fucking rhetoric, you know? And that's not where I want to be. No. That's not where I want to be. That's not where anybody fucking wants to be. But if you keep putting me into that fucking corner, eventually it's gonna be like, well, that's where I am now. You know? But
you know, we do see that in like in radicalization and stuff like that. Like when you have kind of people who are continually lambasted with the same label, like you say, you know, the likes of cancel culture or whatever, you know, if you have kind of people calling out people and calling them Nazis and stuff like that, that if they're attacked from all sides, eventually they're going to kind of retreat into these kind of circles or whatever. And it's the same, you can flip it as well, like when it comes to like Islamic kind of radicalization and stuff like that. If you have people continually calling all Muslims like jihadis and like, you know, like Taliban and Mujahideen or whatever, like stuff, there's going to be a small segment who are going to say, well, fuck that, if everybody thinks I'm that, I'll become that. You see that in neo-Nazism, you see in Buddha, like there's Buddhist extremists, there's Hindu extremists, there's Jewish extremists. It happens right across the board, you know. But I can, it is a part of kind of radicalization, you know. It is there. So
dude, no, it just fucking pisses me off, because it's like, dude, like I don't want to be a fucking right wing extremist. If you keep putting me into that fucking box, eventually that's where we're gonna fucking end up, and it's gonna be like, well, fucking that's the box you put us in. Reap it. And then
I think that there is
a bitch about like fucking like all these people we called Nazis for all these years all of a sudden became actual Nazis, and it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't fucking compare fucking Nazis to people who are fucking like pulling fucking infants away from fucking barbed wire to fucking save shit. You fucking stupid fucking cunt. I'm sorry for that.
And that is essentially the death of a democracy, when people can't kind of interact with each other, you know, or can't kind of use like constructive language to convey what they're trying to say. You know, it's essentially the end of everything, where we're 2 or 3 or 4 different opposing camps and can't meet in the ground or in the middle ground and kind of work shit out and kind of like use civil language with each other. You know, that the one thing I think, you know, bothers me more than anything, you know, the Trump kind of situation, where there's this entrenchment of opinion, whereas like, you know, one segment or maybe even the entire Republican kind of party are saying he's like Jesus reincarnated, and you have the Democrats kind of saying, well, no, he's not, he's the devil or whatever. And then it flips around, so now you got like the Democrats in power and Joe Biden's like Jesus reincarnated, and like Trump's the devil, or whoever the Republicans are. It's crazy. It's things are escalating to a scary point where people can't have a different respectful point of view on a subject, but I mean, have to like stoop to these low blows. Like, how could you ever, you know, call an American military service individual a Nazi? That's the worst horrible thing that you could say to them, like considering like what your forefathers have done, eradicate Nazism, you know, from Europe. You know, it's very insulting. It's not cool. It's clickbait. It is.
It's clickbait bullshit. And then the other thing with that too is like fucking like something bad is probably gonna fucking happen here fucking soon. And I don't know if it's like next week or like in the next 20 years, but like something bad is gonna fucking happen here. And then like after that, like you said, it's like, dude, like we killed Nazis. That was like our fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Our fucking, like, granted, fucking whatever, but like in the fucking 30s and 40s, like our reason for existing was fuck Hitler.
Yeah.
And you want to call me a fucking
it's a poor choice.
It's not pointing the finger directly at you, but it's pointing the finger at what you are.
Yeah, it tarnishes. I think it tarnishes like the accomplishments of yourself, your colleagues, the people who've gone before you. To use that word and and everything that it evokes emotionally is it's not a well thought out scenario. It's not something that I think a credible journalist will kind of sit back and say, right, do I understand the use of this word? And this is something I have seen it in a few media kind of outlets. People are saying like, right, you're calling people Nazis. Do you understand what a Nazi is though?
Yeah.
As in like Nazis are like cold-hearted, political, kind of like warped, like national socialists who want to exterminate a single race of people, to fulfill some bullshit fucking racist ideology. And like that's it's horrible. Like I don't associate that with Marines or with Americans in general. Yeah. I mean the freedom of like a democracy is that we can question like American policy and stuff like that. And yeah, as an Irishman, I plenty of times in the last couple of years I've kind of stepped up, or I've had kind of scenarios where like, is that the right thing to do? Are they doing it the right way? That's I'm allowed that opinion, but to label an entire segment of the US military as a Nazi, and it's horrific. That's not true. It's horrible, and I think it is just to gain likes or to gain more eyeballs on a fucking blog post. It's
that's fucking dangerous though too, because like fucking the more people say that kind of shit, the more people are gonna be like, well, fuck it, I guess I'm a fucking Nazi now. If you're gonna say I'm a Nazi, fuck it, why not? And then like that leads in this like people will tell you that the slippery slope thing isn't a good argument, but like no, that's how fucking shit works. Like I'm up here, you say something, I come down here, you say something, I come down here, you say something, I come down here. And like, I didn't start off with anything besides like, I want to do this. I want to be good for my fucking country. And the more you fucking call me shit, that points me down towards the fucking like bottom angle of fucking like whatever fucking version of fucking extremism. And then the people are like, who radicalized you? And it's like, you did. You know?
No, look, I certainly get kind of what you're saying. Yeah, I totally get it. I can understand that. And, that's it. The sad thing is we're probably going to see that because I think we are saying like in America, there's an increase in kind of domestic kind of terrorist attacks, which is, just fucking horrible, but especially the legitimization of like kind of white supremacist movements and neo-Nazi organizations and stuff like that. And again, like I'm not going to attribute all that to the, President Trump's kind of presidency and stuff like that. But I think Charlottesville, when I think his famous phrase was like there was bad guys on both sides, that's when it was a bit of a turning point, because like Nazis are Nazis. It doesn't matter whether they're American Nazis, whether they're fucking like European Nazis. It does not matter. A Nazi is a Nazi. That's the worst possible type of human being that you can have. It doesn't matter what country they're born in. If they have those types of views, that's dangerous to our democracy. It's dangerous to, our ideals and stuff like that, because the whole point of Nazism is to overthrow democracy and like have this like, government control over the people. So to equate, American military service personnel as Nazis is a fucking sin. It's, again, unfortunately, that it is free speech. People are allowed to say what they're allowed to, what they're allowed to say, but it's a terrible thing to say, regardless. I mean, you can call out American foreign policy, and you can kind of question missions that have gone wrong and things that have been done like horribly.
And American foreign policy has done a lot of shit wrong, and that's a fucking valid criticism. But exactly. Like, if you call me an asshole, I'm kind of an asshole.
Yeah,
I'll own that. You call me a fucking dickhead. Okay, done that.
Yeah,
fucking. You call me a fucking shitbag. I'm gonna disagree on some shit. You call me a fucking Nazi.
Yeah, it's horrible. Horrible. It goes to show how the word is so freely bandied kind of about nowadays. That like I think that my fear is that there's going to be the loss of connection between what Nazi is to what the terminology is now, and like right now it could be like. When they're using that word, it's like, there's no connection between what Nazis did, like, which was the eradication of like 6 million fucking Jews and 6 million non-Jews. That's genocide right there. Yeah. But the way this person is using it, they're using it in a negative connotation, but without the connection to that type of stuff, because
the
Americans have went in
like the bullshit fucking part of it. Not the bullshit, but a bullshit fucking part of it is like, okay, so you voted right instead of fucking left, and it's like that makes you a fucking Nazi. And I was like, dude, look, just because I voted for this because I want my taxes to not be all fucked up, doesn't mean I want to fucking build Auschwitz in fucking Delaware.
Exactly. That's why I'd say, look, whoever this person was who did that, I'd push them far from your thoughts as much as humanly possible. It's a clickbait, bullshit, reactionary move. It's a horrible thing. It does not reflect the vast majority of American forces, or I think, anyone who serves the military for their own respective forces, it's one of those things. It's some horrible human being kind of like decided to, I suppose, capitalize in a moment like this, and it's just terrible. It is just ignore them. That's the best you can do. I always like that phrase. When they go low, we go high. You just try and switch off and say, "Fuck them." That's whoever this person is. They're doing it to make a few bucks, not to reiterate a really strong or kind of level-headed point.
Yeah. Doesn't mean they're not a fucker.
Oh yeah, I mean, clearly that's a fucktard fucking move. Doesn't matter. You don't level that accusation against someone who isn't a Nazi. I mean, like that. I mean, if the Marine Corps were out building like fucking Auschwitz-style concentration camps, be like, kind of get that.
If we're doing that, absolutely. But
but they're not. They're doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And you can question American foreign policy till the cows come home, like we all do, Americans and people outside of America. But to use that word, I think that's definitely a step too far. You need to have respect for people who are willing to put on the uniform and kind of like put their lives on the line to do this stuff. And like you said, that person who you were talking to, this woman who kind of like, she's over there and she's like collecting these children who are passed over in the barbed wire, and she loses her life. Is that a Nazi? Like, do Nazis save children over barbed wire?
Fucking being.
No. Exactly. That's a person who had their hopes, lives. They had their dreams, desires, and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, and like fucking, I kind of feel bad for like a lot of shit. And with that, I mean, like I have a decent amount of fucking dead friends, and it was really, really fucking hard not to say. Well, like when I was talking to this fucking lady, where she was talking about her friend, and it's like, well, you're gonna make a joke about this in 2 years and laugh because you can't say that, but like, it's gonna happen. But like, also at the fucking same time, like it's really fucking heartbreaking that this fucking, not the woman I was talking to, but the girl who died, like her fucking like last fucking post was like, I love my job, and it's like, fuck, and then like, I'm not good at expressing emotion, I guess. Like I don't drink a lot and yelling, but it's like, fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah, look, and sometimes you just have to let it out as well, though, because I'd be like, I'm not fantastic with my emotions either, but at the same time, we all have them one way or another, they're there, and you have to let them out, and you have to be able to go on rants, and you have to allow yourself to feel like shit, and you have to allow yourself to be angry at situations like that, But as long as you have a constructive outlet for it, that's pretty much it, But don't kind of question yourself in terms of like feeling bad about any of this stuff. It's totally normal. I think like the vast majority of people who have any kind of connection to Afghanistan are feeling like this, and I'd say even the vast majority of your Marine Corps are kind of like in a situation like this where it's like, what have we sacrificed? What have we spent all these years, all these moments when we could have been at home, kind of like with our families and with our friends and kind of living our lives, instead putting your life on the risk to be shot at and to experience all the types of situations that you experienced. It's a somber moment. It's a horrible moment, and I think it's a situation that nobody wanted for you and your kind to your fellow kind of Marines and soldiers to ever have to experience. It's surreal, and there's very little precedence in that in modern history as well. And unfortunately, the last one is Vietnam, and that's a fucking horrible thing to have over your head.
Yeah, dude, and like even Vietnam, like there are a lot of correlations. However, there is something that happened in Afghanistan that I don't think happened in Vietnam, and I could be wrong. But I haven't read up enough about Vietnam to know this. But like, from what I get, not the fucking same thing. To where it's like, fucking, if you're in Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
Fucking, you're fighting against the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese army.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, with all the bullshit that's going on, that country was trying to fucking unite to be like one fucking country. As to where the people I was fighting was people that would like burn someone alive for trying to learn how to fucking read. So like I have absolutely fucking zero remorse for fucking killing Taliban. Like I think I did a service to mankind by eradicating those fucking pieces of fucking shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I suppose like the generation before you would have probably felt the same in terms of like fighting the Viet Cong and the NVA and pushing back international communism. You know, it's like, I know it's a different scenario and it's a different situation, but I think the way you feel about this is similar to how they felt. You know, like like I mean, the situation is different. You know.
Yeah, and then like fucking to go back to that fucking. You can say what you want about the reasons that America was in fucking Afghanistan, and like I have some fucking complicated fucking things about that too, because like we were there to fucking root out fucking Al Qaeda, who went to Pakistan afterwards, and I personally think we should have fucking invaded fucking Pakistan in 2001, but you know they have nukes, so that would have been World War III. Personally, I think that would have been justified. I still would have fucking enlisted and did my fucking part, but fucking. The in the moment, the people that I were fucking fighting against were the kind of fucking people that would cut a woman's face off because fucking she wanted to fucking vote.
Yep.
And you want to call me a fucking Nazi? Fuck you.
Yeah, it's a fucked up thing. It is. You know, it is. And look, I think the world is kind of aware of what the Taliban were beforehand. You know, before like obviously the Allied forces went in. You know, they were a fundamentalist, extremely dangerous kind of organization and stuff like that, and the fact that they allowed kind of Al Qaeda to be housed within their borders and stuff like that, of course, like there was going to be a reckoning. So it's it's just I'd say it's one of those situations that take a long time to kind of wrap your head around and trying to understand, you know, because even when like, you know, I look back and I was very kind of like, it was in my early kind of teenage years when 9/11 happened, and it's trying to connect the dots between it all, you know. It's horrific, you know, because like at the time there was the situation of, I think pre-invasion, the vast majority of the world was like, but I mean, that was a terrorist organization, not the country Afghanistan. So like, why are you going to do that? But at the same time, there's like, right, the Americans are blood mad with fucking rage, as anyone would be when you have like 3,000
countries housing them.
Yeah, of course, you want to come after them. Yeah, you want to completely eliminate them, and that's why there was like this confusion and murkiness around the invasion, because like the Americans weren't following kind of like the UN were like, right, well, let's not do this, but America was like, fuck that, they've killed like this amount of people, we're coming after them. And there was like, right, okay, are you going to finish the job, you know? Sort of like, I mean, like you said with Pakistan, like that's where Osama bin Laden for fucking years hid there, you know? But there was like, where you're going to invade Afghanistan to get rid of Al Qaeda, but the head of Al Qaeda is in Pakistan.
And I think we should have fucking invaded Pakistan too. Like said, listen, well, maybe not invaded, but like you give them up or you're going down too.
I think it's like, you know, a lot of this, what comes back to me is like, there doesn't seem to be clear intent in terms of mission goals, right? So
no, there weren't.
The way it was originally, right, okay, we're going to eliminate Al Qaeda. Fine, I kind of grasp that. That's a straightforward enough concept. But at the same time, there's these restrictions where it's like, okay, you can eliminate Al Qaeda in Afghanistan, but you can't do it elsewhere. So that kind of defeats the purpose of coming after Al Qaeda, you know, because if you're going to eliminate them like root, stem, and branch, you know, you need to go after everywhere. I mean, a lot of these international organizations have headquarters in different countries, and the whole point is like they're decentralized. That like one like tactical strike isn't going to eliminate the hierarchy, you know, they're going to be spread out, and they do it deliberately, you know. So it's
and like that's one of those things that's fucking frustrating, because like given that America right now, or for the last fucking since the Soviet Union fell, we are the only superpower. We had the power to fucking do that, and then we fucking didn't. You know, and it's like fucking like there are assholes here. Let's go kill those assholes. Well, we can't go kill those assholes because they're on the side of this border. Okay, tell the other side of that border, you're going to give us those assholes, or we're going to count you as a fucking accomplice. And then we were like, fuck, we're not. And then
no, we like those guys, you know. Yeah, it's weird. It's you know, I think it exposes a lot of kind of like holes in kind of like military doctrine when you have kind of like the politicians kind of weigh in, because I mean, it sounds clear cut, eradicate Al Qaeda, and you're like, okay, let's do that. But when you have these political kind of considerations saying, well, okay, you can eradicate them, but you can only eradicate them in this geographic area. We can't do it over here, and we can't do it over there. Kind of defeats the entire purpose. And I think that's what a lot of people are trying to wrap their heads around, is like, what was the entire point of the invasion of Afghanistan if the Taliban are still, you know, a viable power, you know? And like, I mean, they could potentially shelter other kind of like, you know, organizations, which we saw ISIS were the ones who've claimed responsibility for the attack on the airport in the last couple of days. So
Dude,
I mean, it kind of
I will say though that's one of the few fucking things that fucking Donald Trump did do that I'm 100% fucking behind.
Yeah,
because fucking like ISIS took back over fucking Syria and Iraq, and Obama did fucking jack shit about that. And then like, I don't know if this was like a fucking like Trump was like, we're gonna do this, or it was like the Joint Chiefs of Staff want to go do this, fucking go for it, fucking wave off, fucking whatever. But either way, whatever fucking happened after that, fucking ISIS got the fuck murdered in fucking Iraq and fucking Syria. And like there are still fucking splinter fucking groups. Yeah. But like ISIS as a whole doesn't actually exist because, or doesn't functionally exist anymore because fucking
not to the level they were. It's a huge like I suppose achievement in terms of like crushing them, like because they were a huge player in the Syrian kind of civil war and stuff like that. And they did control, I think, a good segment of kind of Iraqi territory, like, so it's massive, you know. I mean, you have to give credit where credit is due and stuff like that, like, so I mean, it is there. They have been kind of like reduced in terms of their ability, but the fact is they're still launching attacks against kind of Americans, you know, and they prove that the splinter group or not, they still have the effective ability to wage war against, you know, the coalition kind of forces. And that's
well, the other thing about it too is like it's an ideology, and the only way to effectively fight an ideology is with genocide. And it's like, do you really want to do that to fucking fix that kind of problem, you know?
It's I mean, it's two polar extremes. You can either annihilate the enemy, or you can try and convince them of, you know, where they've gone wrong. So the de-radicalization kind of process, and it's a hard thing to do, especially if you look at things like from the Americans' perspective or whatever. Like, how do you convince a group of people that you're there to make their lives better when, you know, you're in their country and you're like basically, you know, shooting people? I mean, you're doing your job like in terms of stabilization, but I mean that's the big quagmire of kind of counterinsurgency tactics, is that like, have they ever worked? Has any power ever gone into another country and imposed its will with its technology and its kind of manpower and changed the perspective of kind of people, you know?
I actually have an answer for that. Yes, it has happened.
Okay.
And the last time it happened was during the Second Peloponnesian War.
So 2,000 years ago.
The last time a fucking superpower has won a war against fucking an insurgency was the Second Peloponnesian War. So it can work
if you're fighting with spears and swords.
Yeah.
And you're in Greece, you know, several thousand years ago. But it's I think it shines a light in terms of modern warfare. Is like, where, like, I mean, like, how do you effectively go in and deal with a situation like that, you know? Because it's very, very different when you're kind of like fighting like an ideology and a philosophy, you know? How can you kind of like eradicate the threat, you know?
Think of is a complete genocide, right? And I don't think that's the right answer. I don't think it's what we should do. That's just the only thing I can think of that would stop it. And I'm not suggesting it.
Yeah.
I'm just not smart enough to come up with a better answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in itself is the problem, though. Like, if you can't think of any type of a solution to how do you combat this, you know, what's the point? You know, because I mean, the Russians learned the lesson in Afghanistan, like, what, 2 decades before, you know, American got involved, and it was the same quagmire. It's like, you know, they went in there for, what was it, 9 years, and it was the exact same situation.
I think it was like 14, but yeah.
Was it 14? Yeah. Again, I'm not 100% on the details, but I know they went in there. It was the same situation, you know. It's one of those kind of things. Like, what do you hope to achieve? Unless you have a clear-cut series of goals that I'm going to execute this, that, the other. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what the whole point of us being here in the first place is going to achieve, and here's why it's going to work. If you can't kind of answer those questions, like what is the point? And I think that's where a lot of the confusion and the scenarios are going around now. Is like, everyone's taking a step back and saying, like, what was the point? I mean, like you said, like with Joe Biden saying it's about nation building, like the Afghanistan kind of people didn't want a new nation, they didn't know any better. They were just living day to day. They like, like you said, they didn't like the Taliban, but they didn't know any better. I think culturally maybe didn't have an understanding of kind of democracy similar to the Germans in post Weimar kind of republic and stuff like that. It was a relatively new concept. So how do you how can you convince the population that you're currently in the process of occupying and there's constant kind of warfare? How do you convince them that it's the right thing to do? Unless they want the change, and that's what it comes down to. And I don't think they did.
Yeah, and then like if you want to go back to like World War II shit though, like that's almost a different fucking argument, because like democracy is a really, really fucking new thing. Like
very true.
Like, was it the Athenians came up with fucking democracy, and they had it for like 50-ish years, and then didn't have it again until like the fucking 1970s. But like, as far as like actual democracy is concerned, it was America, then the French for like 5 years when Napoleon happened, and then fucking fuck off whatever, and then the Brits kind of sort of got it, but then kind of sort of didn't. Like, I'm not sure what the fuck goes on with their fucking bullshit, because no, because like fucking like they had the like Magna Carta, where it's like we're gonna let everybody vote, kind of sort of, but not really. And then like democracy in general isn't something that really happened until like the fucking 1890s.
Yeah, it is. It's a very new concept.
It's a new fucking thing. And like, I'm not 100% convinced that it works. I am more than willing to fucking give it all the fucking chances it fucking needs.
Yeah.
But like, the vast majority of human fucking history, like, you had a dictator and you fucking did what the dictator fucking said,
Yeah.
And we're trying a new thing, and not everybody wants that new thing.
No, exactly. And it comes down to your own kind of cultural kind of, I suppose, outlook and stuff like that, and that's why it's very, very hard to kind of nation build, like, in a country where people don't want to be part of this new system, especially if they feel it's imposed by the outsider,
Yeah, dude, I want somebody with a big stick to tell me what to fucking do,
Yeah. And look, and that's just how their outlook tends to be, it's just one of those things. I think we're going to definitely take several like months / years to try and figure out like what went wrong. But I mean, the parallels to the likes of Vietnam are kind of similar in the sense that like South Vietnamese didn't necessarily want to fight. Now I know the ARVN kind of like did like put in the work and the time, but it was, again, similar to the Afghanistan situation. The ARVN were completely reliant on receiving supplies from American forces and American kind of air power and kind of American like advisors out there. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of the people didn't want the Americans there, and that's why they sided with the NVA and the Viet Cong, and that's why even though what was the kill ratio was, I think, something like for 12 times the amount of Vietnamese soldiers died compared to America's.
And like the blood loss doesn't fucking matter. It's the principle behind it,
Yeah, and I don't mean, suppose you switch that around. You imagine if America got invaded tomorrow, say China like fucking nukes all your nuclear weapons or whatever and sends in ground forces. Are Americans just going to like give up their weapons and just say, oh yeah, fucking yeah, let's join the Communist Party? No, you're going to stand your ground, your fight, So it's a tricky, mind-boggling situation, It's a head fucker.
That it is.
But look, at the end of the day, as long as I think the vast majority of your population kind of like supports your military kind of people, and people are kind of putting in the work to put on the uniform, regardless of what branch of service it is, whether it's Marines, Army, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, Navy, Have I missed anyone there?
No.
I feel like I've only listed off 6 branches. Is there 7, isn't there?
4 or 5. No. So we Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard sometimes. And the Coast Guard's weird because it goes back and forth between the Department of the Navy and the Department of Transportation. It just depends on what they're doing that year.
Well, look, as long as they put on the uniform, like that's it. And I think that's the thing. I think I'd like to think the vast majority of American kind of civilians do support their military forces, as they should, and as they should in every single country, you know, regardless of what government policy is. As long as you kind of have a certain level of respect of people who are willing to kind of put their lives on the line to put on the uniform and defend your country's values, that's really, you know, all that can be asked for, you know. And I'd like to think that, you know, it's there. So you might have one or two dickheads who are just being pricks to make money, you know, out of a clickbait article. But I'd say the vast majority of people are just proud of, you know, what like their kind of fellow citizens have done, you know, to go out there and try and make the world a better place. But at the end of the day, if the government policy isn't there and they're, you know, what can be done? You know, what can an average Marine do? They just have to follow orders, you know.
Yeah, fucking eat shit and push forward.
Exactly. The joys, buddy.
Yeah.
But
but anyway, on that note, fucking we're coming up at the 4-hour fucking mark. So
it's not all only 4 hours
later. So we're gonna say goodbye, man.
Cool. Well, look, absolute pleasure, and all the best. I'm looking forward to getting your books are on the way to me over the next couple of weeks, so I cannot wait to dive into Smokepit Fairy Tales Volume 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, so, and people listening at home, go read Big Red and Blood Red Sand.
Hell yeah!
All right, fucking. Until then, fucking. Where can people find you if they're still listening at this point?
Yeah, Damo was it Damo_Danger Larkin on Instagram, Damo_Dangerman in Twitter, and Damien Larkin, science fiction and fantasy author on Facebook. Have you noticed the common theme there is because Danger is my middle name.
Which is funny because his actual middle name is Alan?
Oliver. There.
Oliver. I was close. It started with a vowel.
Close enough, yeah. But check out my shit. Leave me loads of reviews, and I'll keep reading or keep writing bloodthirsty military science fiction
as it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah. Well, look. God bless America. God bless Ireland.
Semper.